This is Atomic Shinobi, and today I'm going to narrate third and final part of What If Naruto's body was taken over by Dark Kurama. If you enjoy this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Now, wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Naruto launched another gob of demonic chakra towards the rooftop sand Chunin. Despite the Chunin's dodge, the energy hit the roof and burst, sending the unlucky ninja flying. The demon and host noticed that more and more demonic energy was swirling around them as more and more ninja emerged to battle Naruto's growing threat. However, this demonic energy was still far enough away to not harm their new body. An unanticipated advantage, but everything works out in the end. When did you start using proverbs from people? You are aware that I see and hear everything you see and hear? It feels like I've been a human for years now. All I'm trying to say is that, as long as we keep it away from our bodies, using my chakra no longer hurts. Are demons all the same way? I really ought to believe otherwise. Take a look at Gaara. I see, Gaara, oh no. Because Gaara had just emerged, grinning maniacally and seeming rather pleased, he was muttering to himself. A grittier hand emerged from the sand beneath Naruto, and he dove to avoid it as Kyuubi sent more of his caustic chakra into the air surrounding them. Now a tornado of flaming red chakra swirled around them, a stark contrast to the impassively motionless sand armor that shielded Gaara at all times. The sand warrior attempted to reach out to Naruto with a second arm of sand, but the Kyuubi conflagration melted and destroyed it, and a few missiles made of sand, and another arm. The local sand ninja took a step back, holding out hope that the two would end their lives and go away. With his claws ready, Naruto suddenly lunged towards Gaara. Similar, albeit much larger, claws emerged from Kyuubi's chakra's swirling mass. Through a brief opening in Naruto's defense, Gaara skillfully reached an arm of sand and grasped the soft flesh inside. Immediately after, Kyuubi dropped his arms to destroy the attack by blasting chakra out of Naruto's body. With full faith in Kyuubi's ability to defend, Naruto refused to be sidetracked and continued, slashing out at Gaara, who was already being injured by the demon chakra's whirlwind. Immediately, a wall of sand rose to block the attack, and even though Kyuubi's chakra destroyed it, it managed to deflect it. Naruto leapt after Gaara as he swiftly leapt back, pulling back another hand in preparation for an attack. Gaara continued dodging the blows, but each time Naruto approached him, the swirl of evil chakra struck him with its devastating force. The majority of that was mitigated by the armor of sand, and it wasn't as if there wasn't enough sand, but over time, the little damages began to mount. Naruto lost the indifference with which he had entered the village and became more and more involved in the battle. It irritated me. He hardly caused any harm to this man. This area had an excessive amount of sand. There was an abundance of sand in the area despite the oddly shaped glass fragments that were scattered everywhere. Then, just as Gaara leapt back to avoid yet another blow, Kyuubi caught the sand nin off guard with a chakra burst that sent the victim, who had already leapt into midair, soaring. With a long chakra arm, Kyuubi then reached out and grabbed the boy, drawing him in. Naruto struck Gaara hard in the face and chest, causing the boy's skin to form lengthy streaks of melted glass. Gaara shrieked in pain and was pushed aside, tripping and falling a few yards before passing out. Just as Naruto turned to face the other sand ninja in the vicinity, he heard Gaara chuckle. Alternatively, given that Gaara wasn't conscious. Raising himself to his full height, Shukaku let out a high-pitched shriek of laughter. "I'm free." Naruto leapt backward as sand rushed toward him. In an effort to shield Naruto from the other demon, Kyuubi drew in his chakra and created a thin layer of evil chakra. Naruto could sense the tinge of pain that came with the demon chakra's extended contact. When Shukaku's hand came into contact with the demonic armor, it melted into glass and he lost his grip on Naruto. "Kyuubi," Naruto grinned. "We won't just melt your legs like we did last time, Shukaku, he. Shukaku stopped. "You can't beat me in the desert, fool. No matter how much sand you melt, there's always more." "Naruto," Kyuubi gave a vicious smile, "but there's only one Gaara. How will you replace him? He. Will you retrieve his organs with your sand? Will you reattach his head with your sand?" Directly in front of Gaara, the fiery figure wearing the Akatsuki cloak leapt up to the head of the sand demon. The sand around them instantly melted under his feet. Shukaku struggled mightily to pull the boy away, but before he could do so, Naruto, Kyuubi reached out and burned a hand, piercing Gaara's mouth and eyes. Then they pulled hard, ripping Gaara's head off with their grip on his skull. With a piercing shriek, Shukaku vanished into the sand. Naruto, Kyuubi jumped off their precarious perch and landed back a few yards. They let go of their bloodied, burnt head and smirked maniacally at the scared Suna ninja. Who's next? When the two younger ninjas got close to the city gate, Kakashi stopped them. The silence was unsettling, and the evil had progressively diminished, which was somehow even more unsettling than the feeling of it. Kakashi turned to face the wall's base and saw an extinguished Chunin. Jogging over to the corpse, Kakashi bent to examine it more closely. As a Junin, he was able to observe the marginally scorched areas surrounding the wound in addition to the evidently fatal gash in the throat. Shikamaru also observed it. Kakashi-san, you thinking that this was done by whoever we're following, I mean, with the burns and all? Kakashi gave a nod. Despite taking a step back, Ino peered around the knelt Junin. She pointed at the closed pouch that hung from one leg and said, he looks like he didn't expect the attack. He doesn't have any other signs of a fight. Kakashi stood slowly, trying to relive the feeling of evil he had experienced when they had first seen Suna from a distance of several miles. Nothing. We need to find it quickly, but it's obviously too dangerous to split up. Let's be quick. Follow me. Kakashi accelerated their speed as they entered and navigated the city. There were many more burning or damaged houses than surviving ones, and bodies were strewn across the streets. The team kept moving through the eerily quiet city, searching for any indication of their target or any life at all, until they came to a sizable square that was littered with a variety of strangely shaped glass fragments. Using his foot, Kakashi turned over a severed head and saw, through the gouged out eyes and burns, the once terrifying Gaara of the desert. Ino was feeling unwell. These individuals had not perished. They'd been brutalized. They found more and more bodies as they continued into the city and toward the town's administrative buildings, to the point where it became impossible to move without stepping on one. Kakashi thought they must have been protecting the administration from whatever it was as they came across more corpses. Shikamaru made an effort to come up with a possible explanation. Something that used a lot of fire, something with claws, and something devoid of humanity. Hey, Kakashi-san. What is it, Shikamaru? Do you think we could be following some sort of demon? I mean, this sort of fits the description of what happened when the Kyuubi attacked Konoha, except on a smaller scale, obviously. Kakashi gave a nod. That's exactly what I think. Reminded abruptly of the Kyuubi in Naruto's thoughts, Ino flinched. Is Naruto still alive in some way? Kakashi, what do you think it is? Could it be the Kyuubi has returned? Kakashi arched an apparent eyebrow. She could guess quite well, or she was fast. I didn't really want to tell you guys what I knew, but after seeing this, it's obvious that you need all the information you can get. Well, since we're on a mission to track and capture or kill it, I guess I should tell you guys what I know. My dog, Pakun, informed me that it smelled exactly like something that had killed some of our villagers several years ago before we left, even though we can't be sure what we're following. It smelled, he later told me, exactly like the town's tainted area had immediately after the invasion. You should be aware, first of all, that the Kyuubi was never vanquished. All he was sealed into a baby. The Naruto. It's unclear what effects the seal had, but it was meant to kill the Kyuubi after Naruto died. So, my best guess is that somehow the Kyuubi survived Naruto's death, or that somehow Naruto survived. Right now, it seems more likely that Naruto survived, given that the Kyuubi would not probably be in a human shape, wearing an Akatsuki cloak, like the guards told us the target was. While Ino was in disbelief, Kakashi was more preoccupied with Shikamaru. Shikamaru, I value your opinion. Given what you see here, do you think we have a chance of capturing Naruto or Kyuubi, or at least killing him or them? If not, we should probably return immediately to report this massacre. Shikamaru paused to reflect. Well, we have Ino, who should be able to control him, so I think we can capture him fairly easily as long as we can keep him still enough for Ino to use her technique. It would be better to tell the Hokage about this after we stop him. Kakashi pivoted to face his other ally. Ino, what do you think? I can't, Kakashi-san. Not just because I'm scared, but I tried my technique on Naruto before, and it doesn't work well, to say the least. Kakashi scowled. What do you mean it doesn't work well? I mean, well, I couldn't actually control him. Because of the Kyuubi, Naruto was able to resist my technique. And I sort of got stuck in his mind until he died, or whatever happened at the end there. The girl was staring at Kakashi as if she had developed a third arm. Why didn't you tell anyone? We could use information like that. Like when we picked you for this mission because of that technique of yours. Ino cast a downward glance. I didn't want to talk about it. Kakashi let out a sigh. Shikamaru, you think we should go back to Konoha? The lethargic Chunin nodded, and Kakashi led the way back to Konoha. Naruto quickly sprinted down the road, avoiding both Suna and Konoha. One fewer village to be concerned about. That would be one fewer ninja group hunting him down. However, Naruto didn't feel any better in some way. Indeed, after a while he had grown numb to the horror of killing. It was, in fact, entertaining. Perhaps not as entertaining as Kyuubi had suggested, but still fun. However, it wasn't as satisfying as he had imagined. Naruto reasoned that he might feel better and feel safer if he got rid of most of the people he was concerned about. However, he didn't. Perhaps it's because Konoha is still pursuing you. We're not sure if they're genuinely pursuing me. Even though we weren't sure if Suna was, it's probably best to be safe than sorry. Will we be eliminating Konoha next? Why do you feel the need to destroy Konoha? Is that something you're obsessed with? No, the only reason is that we should make sure we're safe rather than hoping we're not targeted by them. So, why did you launch your initial attack on Konoha? You couldn't have been worried that they would attack you. Because Konoha was there, I attacked it. I was in the vicinity and needed something to do. I fail to see why we should attack them. We'll just head off into the distance, hoping that they'll leave us alone. It was a breeze for you to get rid of Suna. Do you think less of me now? I simply don't see why I should go after them. We can move to a remote town or somewhere else and live in peace. Especially after they learn what happened to Suna. Do you really think they'll leave us alone? How would they be aware of our actions? The burn marks, scratches, melted sand, and the lingering aroma of my chakra. Running, Naruto continued to get further and further away from the places he was familiar with. Hokage. Sama, couldn't there be some other way? Ino, you were there. This person, whom I no longer doubt is the Kyuubi, destroyed an entire village. We can no longer take chances. So I sent several teams of Anbu. But Tsunade, Naruto is still in there somewhere, or the Kyuubi wouldn't have a human body, right? Whether Naruto is in there or not, he is obviously not in control, and we can't just let him go unchecked until he regains control. I'm sorry if this bothers you, Ino, but we don't really have any other choice. With a scowl, Ino departed silently from the Hokage's office. After arriving home, she started packing and headed for the village gates. Abruptly, an Anbu materialized beside her. Yamanaka Ino, the Hokage has ordered me to make sure you don't leave the village without permission. For a moment, Ino thought about trying to pass the Anbu, but she knew that would not work, so she returned home and prayed for a better outcome. Tsunade gave Konoha permission to adopt the destitute shinobi who had once belonged to Suna by signing the final piece of paperwork. Naturally, a lot of ninja had been sent on missions, and the Hokage had established a location in the ruins of Suna to guide the ninja who were heading back to Konoha. Letting them all go renegade wouldn't work, and their allies' village would be a perfect place for them to go. In the first village he encountered, Naruto stopped. Of course, it wasn't that far from Suna, or the location that had once been Suna, but Konoha had probably not heard of that as of yet. Wondering what to eat, Naruto strolled through the streets. It was just a matter of taste, of course, since Kyuubi had been gracious enough to remind him to plunder the bodies intact enough that their cash burned. Meat sounded good, for some reason. Uncooked meat. Naruto approached a butcher's stand in the market and pointed to a sizable chunk of meat that was left out to dry in the back. Naruto didn't stop to wonder why his mouth was watering from the blood still dripping from it. The butcher had placed the meat down and was ready to cut it into pieces when Naruto intervened. No, leave it like it is. The man gave Naruto a strange look but dismissed it. That'll be. The butcher's eyes widened and he suddenly froze. Kyuubi shot a burst of demonic chakra from Naruto's back, blasting the assailant away as soon as Naruto sensed his presence behind him. Naruto spun around and saw that at least a dozen Anbu were facing him, the Konoha leaf symbol displayed proudly on their forehead protectors. With a frown, Naruto assumed a fighting stance. More chakra was infused into Naruto by Kyuubi, causing his teeth to grow into fangs and his nails to grow into claws. The whisker marks on Naruto grew thicker and longer. Everyone in the Anbu turned to face the person who was obviously the leader. With a nod, the leader sent several Anbu flying towards Naruto, brandishing swords and kunai. They were essentially stopped in midair when Kyuubi struck them with another shockwave of evil chakra, and Naruto made the most of this opportunity. A number of Narutos leapt from his body and used their vicious claws to slash at the ABNU. The concentrated demon chakra that formed the clones caused the blades used by the Anbu to melt as they blocked with them. With no kind of battle cry or warning, more clones began to pour out of Naruto and attack. The clones were swift and fierce in their combat. and they occasionally had bits of Kyuubi's chakra floating around to protect them from the Anbu's vicious attacks. All the stops were pulled by the Anbu. Others leapt back and used strong water and earth jutsu to try and counter the chakra, which was obviously fire-oriented. Some leapt onto roofs and attempted to attack Naruto from above. While some of the clones that had been destroyed by the recent jutsus were being replaced, clones leapt out of Naruto, who had not moved at all, to counter the attacking Anbu. The real Naruto was standing in front of the butcher's stall. The Anbu, who were skilled, managed to take a few hits from the battle-mad clones, but they were unable to find a way to attack him. The Anbu focused on each of their individual opponents while fighting with great vigor. Thus, one Anbu was taken completely by surprise when Naruto extended his hand and a massive red hand materialized, entangling him and revealing the true Naruto. With his arms pinned to his sides, the Anbu was unable to defend himself when Naruto bit into his throat. Naruto placed the deceased body on the ground next to him. After the other Anbu moved aside, Naruto briefly considered that they might withdraw when all of a sudden he was bound to a tree that had materialized behind him. However, prior to that, there was no tree there. Oh no, Shin Genjutsu. I'm in a terrible place. What topic are you discussing, Kit? Nothing seems different to me. We have Genjutsu tied to a tree. Are you serious? I see a guy playing with your chakra, not a tree. We refer to that as Genjutsu. I see, okay, so. Seeing that their comrade's Genjutsu had stopped the container in his tracks, the Anbu charged. However, as they approached, they sensed a tiny surge of the demon's strength and realized that it was staring directly at them. Get back! He broke the WHOOM. Kyuubi enveloped the skilled ninja in a blaze of malevolent energy, causing harm and burning to all it came into contact with. Behind Naruto, the butcher's stand and the other market stalls vanished into thin air, their owners safely inside, having fled at the first sign of trouble. Despite being aware of Kyuubi's intense chakra storm, Naruto remained motionless and felt the familiar pain of using so much chakra so close to himself. Naturally, the Anbu were not insignificantly skilled ninjas and found a way out of the maelstrom. The demon child crouched down on all fours, seemingly preparing to charge at them directly. The Anbu flinched from their fighting stances as two large red hands shot out of the ground, grabbing an Anbu nearby. Before reaching for more, the hands killed the Anbu by crushing and burning. The other Anbu leapt back, dodging the hands and looking around for more similar surprises. They turned to face the demon child, who was now standing tall and motionless near the ruins of the store he had destroyed, but they saw nothing. It was too late for them to realize it was a clone. The real Naruto descended from the sky, blasting them with enough evil chakra to stun the living and deal significant damage, making them simple targets for elimination. Naruto surveyed his surroundings, but that seemed to be the final one. Naturally, there was nowhere to get meat these days. It's not like anyone else will eat the Anbu, so they're just sitting there. However, they're human. That is repulsive. Well, meat is meat, folks. Furthermore, you wouldn't allow your feelings or emotions to get in the way of tasks that are necessary if you were a true ninja. Maybe, but you're just too frail. Continue to cling to those emotions. Whatever. I just am not weak. Well, they're still meat, I suppose, and therefore, it makes no difference if they are human or pig, like the stuff you were going to buy. In any case, it's not like you're killing them for sustenance, they're already dead. Naruto observed the villagers observing him from their hiding spots throughout the marketplace before making his decision. They have witnessed us using your power, so it is necessary to kill them. I wasn't going to say it quite like that, but yes. Naruto had made up his mind by the time he killed the final villager. The villagers had a pork-like flavor. Tsunade read the report and sighed. 12 dead Anbu discovered amid a village's debris. Not to mention the deaths of civilians. No ones who survived. Furthermore, a few individuals had been consumed. Since there were no big carnivorous animals in the region, this implied. Tsunade trembled. Hokage. Sama. Tsunade raised her gaze to Kakashi. What? Oh yeah, I called you up here. Well, Kakashi, it's looking like force isn't gonna work. He killed 3 teams of Anbu and an entire village in the fight. I'm not sure if Naruto is in control anymore, but if he is, or if he is able to do anything at all, it might be worth a try to send his former friends to try and get him. I want you, Asuma, Kurane, and the rookie 9 to go after him. Kiba should be able to track for you, even if your dogs won't. Kakashi came close to hitting himself. Why had he not considered that earlier? Be extremely careful. Don't attack unless he attacks first, and if it comes to fighting, leave as soon as it gets bad. We don't need to lose the next generation of ninja on one mission. The copy.nin turned to face the door after giving a nod. And Kakashi. The Junin glanced back at the Hokage's grave expression. Do whatever you need to do. The guards outside thought Kakashi had a sad expression in his eye, but it was difficult to tell with him. With his platinum blonde hair waving in the slight breeze, a boy entered the tiny town. His strange black cloak with red clouds caught the attention of onlookers, but they did not consider it to be more than a distinctive style. Looking around the main street of whatever town this was, the new arrival saw adults eating freshly bought food or shopping at the market stalls, while children played. A small girl interrupted the newcomer's thoughts before he could make up his mind. Hey, mister, where'd you get that cloak? It looks kind of cool. The little brown-haired child who had spoken to him was looked down at by the owner of said cloak. Though he hadn't really intended to respond, the girl's expectant stare made him feel compelled to say something. I got it from a guy the first met once. He didn't need it anymore. A young boy approached. Hey, mister, did you put those red clouds on the cloak to match your eyes? They're like the same color as your eyes. The man in the cloak appeared a little uneasy, but he responded, no, the cloak was already like that. More young ones approached him. Hey, how did you get such cool eyes? They're like a cat or something. Why don't you wear shoes, mister? Are you new here? How long are you going to stay? The stranger had joined the kids in the market in a game of hide and seek before he truly understood what was happening. It wasn't all that horrible. Given that nobody knew his secret, he might be able to stay here for a while. In any case, the blonde had intended to choose a new residence. Kakashi went down the road after Kiba. It appeared that the Kyuubi, also known as Naruto, had stayed on the path. Kiba could always detect the demonic stench of the demon, even though he wasn't always able to detect Naruto's scent. The stench was so potent that Kiba started to question how his fellow ninja weren't able to detect it. Kakashi was closely followed by the other 9 rookies. Choji, still munching on potato chips, sort of lumbered along beside Shikamaru, who ran with his hands in his pockets and his eyes fixed on the sky. Unusually quiet, Ino ran beside them, her long hair blowing in the wind. Sakura trailed behind, her expression worried. Despite the weights and the fact that he was running on his hands, Rock Lee easily kept up with the group as Neji and Tenten ran on either side of him. Asuma and Kurenai trailed behind. Asuma turned to face his fellow Junin as they ran. Hey, Kurenai. Do you really think we can bring him back? I mean, if he's done what they said he has, I'm not sure the Genin and Shikamaru will be safe. Kurenai let out a sigh. I hope so. Naruto waited for the boy's mother to return from her shopping while they sat in the street next to the last boy who had left. She was conversing with another woman on the street, which they could see. Hey, mister. With a sideways eye roll, Naruto maintained his composure as he turned to face the child standing next to him. Where are you from? Naruto hesitated. It would have been too dangerous for him to reveal his Konoha origins. Nowhere. The boy appeared perplexed. What, you have to come from somewhere, don't you? Naruto grinned, a hint of amusement shining in his red eyes. Nope. I didn't come from anywhere. Just appeared at the edge of town here. The boy's eyebrows were furrowed. But, how did you get here, if you didn't come from somewhere? Naruto laughed a little, a sounding laugh that was different from his usual one in Konoha. It was softer, deeper, more mature. Even to himself, Naruto thought that explanation of his arrival was ridiculous and was thinking of other ways he could respond should anyone else inquire, like, I just appeared there. Wasn't born or anything, just came in existence at the edge of the village. The young boy shook his head. Okay, if you say so. But how did you get this cloak from someone you knew if you came into existence at the edge of the village? It was technically true that I knew him in a former life. He had been attacked by Itachi before he nearly passed away? Passed away? What, so you got the cloak in some other life? Naruto rolled his eyes and said, exactly. You catch on pretty quick. Children were really weird. Wow, that's pretty cool. Glancing up, they saw the boy's mother approaching them. I guess I'll see you later, kid. Unless I disappear like I appeared. Don't do that, mister, we had fun today, you should come play with us like that again. A possible genuine smile curled around Naruto's lips. Maybe I'll hang around for a while. The female came to a stop in front of them. She turned to face Naruto and said, come on, son. It's time to go home. And I suppose you are the one the kids have all been talking about? Have you found a place to stay yet? Head tilting to one side, Naruto did so. Yeah, I'm that guy. And I was thinking I'd sleep in a tree somewhere. Or maybe on the ground, if the trees are too small. The female scowled. I can't let you sleep outside. Why don't you stay with us for this night at least? After shaking off the dust from his cloak, which he continued to wear to maintain his modesty, Naruto said, all right, I guess. They started to move along the road. The female directed her gaze towards him. I don't think I caught your name? You can call me Aku, An, Japanese for evil. The mother looked twice. Who names their child that? No one. What do you mean? The young boy plunged right into the discussion. He told me all about him. Mom, he's from nowhere, and so no one named him. Naruto grinned. You're a quick thinker, kid. Though the mother appeared perplexed, she dismissed it, assuming the kind stranger was making light of the boy. When they got to the small house, they ate dinner around a small table. Despite not knowing anything about his background, the mother found this Aku to be fairly courteous as he continued to joke around with her son and never showed any seriousness. She showed Naruto a room with a small bed after supper and promised to wake him up. She gave him a black shirt and some pants to sleep in. Naruto put on the pants before going to bed, if only to relieve himself of the burden of worrying about leaving his cloak open in the future. Naruto had a dream. He witnessed Sasuke battle Gaara once more, but he was unable to see Gaara. Sasuke ducked and weaved between pillars of sand and arms. Naruto was perplexed. Gaara was where? Naruto felt his arm suddenly stretch, and he saw Gaara's arm extend in front of him. He was Gaara. Sasuke was killed by Naruto, who was unable to resist, and he stared at Sasuke's mutilated remains for hours on end. Subsequently, Naruto experienced an unnatural feeling of peril. It seemed more genuine than the current conflict that has arisen since Sasuke's demise. A faint voice that became louder with each repetition reached his ears. Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Fool, wake up, they've arrived. Gazing down, Kakashi saw what appeared to be Uzumaki Naruto in a sleeping form. The copy.nin sensed the activity of Kyuubi's chakra even as the boy slept. To avoid any problems returning, Kakashi created a few seals for a sleeping jutsu that would last for a long time. After completing the seals, the Junin wearing a mask extended a hand to apply jutsu. Just as Kakashi was about to cry out in shock, Naruto woke up out of nowhere and grabbed Kakashi's wrist. An inner light of anger glowed in Naruto's red eyes, but Kakashi already had a bad feeling about this. Asuma, Kurenai, and their groups awaited Kakashi's return outside. After ensuring that Naruto, Kyuubi, or whoever wouldn't wake up, Kakashi would ensure that they could safely return to Konoha. They were all taken aback by the sudden burst of murderous intent, but it also made them more alert, making the explosion of the house seem less deadly. After flipping around, Kakashi came to rest next to the other Junin on his feet. This could be a bit more difficult than we thought. Asuma scowled. Well, we did bring our teams to convince him. Kakashi winced. I don't know how much that will help if he thinks I was attacking him in his sleep. Kurenai and Asuma mouthed a silent, oh. The three teams saw what appeared to be Naruto, or at least what looked like Naruto, when the smoke cleared. Aside from the red eyes, claws, and tails, he is surrounded by a growing storm of red chakra. Kakashi was the first to speak. Naruto, we just want to bring you back to Konoha with us. We can help you resist the Kyuubi, and stop him from doing what he did in Suna. I know you wouldn't do anything like that on your own. Naruto's maniacal laughter in response unsettled the three teams a little. The demon child gave them a small smile and cocked his head to one side. Yes, Kakashi. That would explain why you didn't even bother to wake us before attacking. Yes, it's because you care. Do you really think we're that stupid? He tried to reason with Kakashi. Naruto, we just wanted to avoid letting the Kyuubi get out like he is now. Here, I can put a temporary seal on you to free you from Kyuubi's influence for a while, and then when we get back to Konoha, Jiraiya can replace it with a more permanent seal, so that these things don't happen again. Based on the way the boy paused after listening, the Junin assumed he had persuaded Naruto. He was mistaken, though, because there was a low, ominous laughing that made him feel somehow even more afraid than the previous loud laughter. You really don't get it, do you, Kakashi? We've already been hunted by Anbu, sent to kill us. You guys are just here to get me to return with you so they can kill me back there, or put so many seals on us that we'd never be able to use chakra again. Not that you could know that most of your seals wouldn't work, or that I would figure it out. It floored the three Junin. Would most of the seals not function? Naruto seemed to take pleasure in their perplexity. Naruto opened his Akatsuki cloak and revealed his bare stomach, saying, "Most of the seals that could be used revolve around strengthening or modifying my current seal. Or rather, the seal I used to have." Though he's not flashing them, Naruto is now wearing black pants underneath the cloak. The assembled ninjas peered, but all they saw was wiry, lanky muscles. Not a seal. It's a good thing that old seals do not return with reincarnation. Naturally, the old seal has bound Kyuubi to me soul.to. Soul, but since it no longer has a physical presence, it's not an issue. It's a shame it didn't let me go, but at least this is far more fascinating than going on a solitary stroll. A little close together. And we must continue to murder every single one of them. Kyuubi hoped his tone conveyed reluctance to murder. Okay, so we don't have to murder them right away. They were, after all, my friends once. You think we can afford to let them go, even though they attack you while you're sleeping? Naruto remained quiet. He pulled the Akatsuki cloak closed. We don't really need to kill them, in my opinion. We can simply enter any nation that despises Konoha, even if they pursue us. Kid, they clearly came here on orders. They will not simply release you. Maybe if we kill one, the others will go away and leave us alone. Did you previously reside in Konoha? You'll have to kill them all because killing one will enrage the others. I never suggested killing them for personal gain, only primarily. What appeared to be the only reasonable conclusion imprisoned Naruto. What if we simply eliminate the Junins? More than likely, the genin will flee. Kyuubi scowled inwardly. However, 3 deaths was better than none at all. Kakashi awaited Naruto's next move. However, the boy did nothing more than stand and gaze at the earth. Kurenai inclined towards him. Kakashi, did you notice how he referred to himself as we? Kakashi's eye became visible. If Naruto used the pronoun we, that could only imply he's been repossessed. The civilians standing around, watching and waiting for an opportunity to search the destroyed house for survivors, were ignored by the ninja. Kakashi raised his voice. Naruto, why are you so quiet? With a frown on his mouth, Naruto raised his gaze. I was figuring out how many of you I need to kill to get the rest of you to leave. After all, Naruto had chosen not to kill them all, so he had intended for it to sound kind. He was aware that the gathered ninja did not share his perspective, though, based on the impression he could see them giving his statement. Naruto decided to launch an attack first since they didn't seem to want to move first. An army of fiery, demonic clones attacked the Leaf.Nin one seal later. After jumping away from the clone's initial charge, Kakashi had to quickly retreat in order to support the slower genin. These clones were extremely fast and aggressive, but they were also very easy to kill. Just one hit did them in. Clone bodies attacked with claws, teeth, fists, feet, knees, and any other part of their bodies that could be used. Neji moved through the sea of clones with grace and agility. With his Byakugan, he could see them all very well, and the clones were too focused on attacking to consider using his blind spot as a point of attack. Neji ducked under the grabbing hand and tapped the offending clone, making it vanish in a burst of red. Neji approached Naruto as the Junin attempted to assist the other genin who was in need of assistance. Neji moved closer to the demon container as Kakashi had warned that if they couldn't persuade Naruto, they would have to either kill or capture him. Abruptly, the Hyuga sidestepped a blow and charged directly towards Naruto. As soon as he saw Naruto look at him with those blood-red eyes, he prepared himself for the worst. Neji ducked as a big red hand shot out of Naruto's chest, heading straight for the enraged blonde. Neji had to jump back to avoid another clawed hand after tapping a few tenketsu. The Hyuga could only watch in fascination as the sealed tenketsu were forced open by the demon's chakra, but Neji was momentarily unable to approach as the vortex of evil chakra moved closer to the container to shield him. The real Naruto suddenly leapt directly at Neji. Neji avoided and blocked, but he was unable to seal any tenketsu permanently because each block burned his arms. Neji leapt back, getting ready to hit the demon with the Kaden. However, Naruto moved too quickly and repeatedly struck Neji with 2 fingers on each hand. Neji was instantly struck with excruciating pain as a great deal of caustic chakra was forced into his body. The blonde had completely missed Neji's tenketsu, but the boy with the white eyes couldn't deny the attack's effectiveness. As the poisonous chakra continued to eat away at Neji's internal coils and organs, Neji became slower and slower until he was unable to avoid Naruto's claws, which then tore across his throat. Neji dropped to the floor. When Tenten realized this, she became enraged and leapt high into the air, unfurling 2 scrolls to use her signature move on the demon. Once in the air, Though, she was too surprised to be able to dodge the long red arm that reached out to grab her, and it reeled her back to the miniature Kyuubi. Kakashi looked up when he heard a high-pitched scream. Neji and Tenten. He had been so busy helping Ino from the clones that he had failed his team. Kakashi's Sharingan eye, uncovered in the fight, saw that there was no chakra left in their bodies. 2 teammates down. Remembering the Hokage's warning, Kakashi yelled for everyone to run away. Naruto looked up and saw the retreating backs of the Leaf. Nin, and, still filled with a lust for blood and battle, reached out one more time, underground. Kakashi gasped in surprise and horror when a red hand popped from the ground and grabbed him. The hand pulled him back to the demon child, but before he was within range, Kakashi broke from the hand's grasp and landed on the ground a few yards from the demon container. Ino looked back, and saw Kakashi preparing to face Naruto. No, Kakashi. Sensei. Kakashi looked back for a moment, motioning for the team to leave him, before returning his gaze to the unholy genin before him. Naruto struggled with his thoughts. Or were they Kyuubis? It was hard to tell, sometimes, they were so alike. He couldn't kill his old sensei when that sensei was going away anyway. But he had to kill his heart to be a real ninja. He was too weak, he had never been a real ninja. And now he was a coward too, because he really wanted to let the Junin go out of fear. Who said that? Naruto didn't know, but whoever it was made sense to him. Naruto suddenly sprang toward Kakashi, fangs bared and claws at the ready. Kakashi moved to form some seals, when 2 of the remaining clones grabbed his arms. Where had they come from? Naruto thrust a clawed hand through Kakashi's torso, watching as the Junin gasped and sputtered blood. Naruto grinned. Then the Junin burst into smoke, and Naruto cursed aloud. Lost him. We'll get him next time. We? Or I? Aren't we me, or am I us? Either way, there he was or were annoyed at the crying villagers, who had seen too much already, at any rate. Hours later, as Naruto jogged down the road, he decided that maybe he hadn't needed to kill all of the villagers. But they were there, and he was already in a killing sort of mood. What was a village or 2 in the grand scheme of things, anyway? Kakashi reported back to Tsunade. Mission failed. 2 casualties. The Hokage took a large swig of sake. It was not a good day. Naruto wandered into Cloud Country, and settled in a small village there. For years, no one came looking for him, and so he stayed and became just another member of the town. Until this year. Tsunade looked up from her paperwork. Sakura, you are to take your genin team on a C-rank mission. There is a guy in this village in Cloud, not far past the border, that owes our client some money. Find him, get the money, and get back. And avoid any Cloud ninja. The pink-haired medic nodded, and led her team out the door. Naruto rose early and headed to his usual hangout in town center. Naruto just went along with it since the proprietors of the surrounding shops truly appreciated it and gave him stuff in return. The ninja with blonde hair recalled the day he had arrived in the town, when one of the many powerful gangs in the region had made the decision to rob the village in order to accumulate food supplies. Without even needing to display any of Kyuubi's power, Naruto had stepped in and killed every single member of the gang because he had nothing better to do. Even though the town's residents were somewhat repulsed by the brutality of the killing, they were still incredibly appreciative of the assistance because incidents like this frequently occurred there. Naruto consented to hang around the village and deal with any gangs that got an idea in exchange for food and lodging. Thus, Naruto spent a lot of time wandering the city, mingling with the many people he encountered or amusing children and occasionally their parents with petty ninja maneuvers. Naruto had gotten to know every resident of the town over the years. Naruto knew that he could be forced to do what he had done many times before, but he didn't say their names because that would suggest that he had a bond with them. Nevertheless, Naruto knew everyone. He never called anyone by name, so the nicknames he came up with for them amused the people. Hey, Aku. Naruto turned to face a big, middle-aged man with a long beard and black hair. If Naruto remembered correctly, the man was some kind of blacksmith. Yes, Blackbeard-san. I was wondering if you could help with a sort of personal problem. What sort of problem are we talking about? You see, I owe a certain man quite a lot of money, and I haven't gotten all of it ready yet. I can pay him soon, but I have heard that he hired ninja to take the money from me. If I lose that much money right now, I would have to sell my house and everything, so I need just another few weeks or so to get the money. So, I was wondering if you wouldn't mind, protecting me against any ninja that might come around? After giving the man a minute's attention, Naruto cocked his head. What makes you think I can defeat ninjas? The man let out a loud laugh. I heard about how you've killed every gang that ever attacked this place, without even taking a single hit. That requires a certain amount of skill, and I don't think they're going to be sending elite ninja to threaten little old me. I don't think it will be a problem for you. It's not like I expect you to take the fall for me, but if you can, I'd like you to help. Naruto considered it for a while. The ninja should most likely be from Cloud as well, since the village was located there. There would be issues if he killed the ninja. Unless, that is, they were foreigners, which was unlikely. Perhaps if he concealed the corpses. Or consumed them. Bodies that have passed through the digestive system are difficult to locate. After giving Blackbeard a grateful nod, Naruto turned to leave and began planning how to best conceal the bodies of 1 to 4 Cloud Ninja. While training her genin team, Sakura guided them toward the nation of Cloud. It wasn't like they were in danger, this was just a money retrieval mission. Assuming they avoided encountering the entity that could potentially be either the demon or Naruto. It had long since disappeared into Cloud Country, and since Leaf and Cloud were not friendly, Leaf didn't follow it past the borders. But that was years ago, and by now it's most likely moved on or disappeared. She hoped so, at least. The children in the crowd had been enthralled with Naruto's transformation from a dog to a human and back. The parents laughed too, though most of them were engaged in conversation or shopping. Naruto concluded that the best course of action would be to eat the Cloud Ninja. The bones would be the only issue. Perhaps they could bury them in a new grave in the cemetery? When long, blonde hair. San waved at him. Naruto grinned. She had grown somewhat dependent on him. Though Kyuubi constantly reminded Naruto not to get too attached to anyone because if he had to destroy this village too, she would undoubtedly grow scared of him and he would probably end up killing her anyhow. The younger, single woman had not tried to hide her feelings for him. Naruto glanced down the lengthy road that bisected the town and was startled to see some people approaching the village from a distance. With his improved vision in this body, he was able to tell 4 people apart. He was not familiar with the other 3, but he was familiar with Haruno Sakura. Naruto changed into a regular-looking man with green eyes and black hair. His red shoes, which he included into the illusion, were the only distinctive feature about him. Naruto made the decision to watch. In the hopes of receiving the money and making a speedy return, Sakura led her genin team to the village. Getting caught by Cloud Ninja, even in a tiny village on the outskirts of the nation, would not be good. Sakura had ensured that her group was aware that they were supposed to keep their identity as residents of Leaf Country a secret. They would simply threaten to take the guy's money and walk away. No issues. With their leaf headbands securely tucked away, her group entered the town. Sakura nodded, and her group parted to search for the man. As previously arranged, they were to reconvene here in a few hours, and whoever had located the man could then direct them to him. Sakura decided that it might be quicker if she convinced someone to tell her where the target lived, or better yet, where he could be found right now. While her genin searched the area, she went up to a generic-looking guy she saw standing in the road, seemingly staring off into space. "Hey, sir, you live here." With his peripheral vision, Naruto observed the team, aware that any ninja worth their kunai would see a guy staring directly at them. The smaller ones, most likely genin, parted ways, but Sakura approached him directly. Kyuubi and Naruto cursed their good fortune. "Hey, sir. You live here?" Naruto gave her a glance. "Yeah, I do. Maybe you could give me a tour, or at least tell me about the town. I just got here, and I don't know much about it." Naruto refrained from rolling his eyes at the blatant attempt at being cutesy. While it might have worked on a regular guy, ninjas were wise enough not to fall for that. It wasn't a problem either, since he'd grown past his crush on this girl ages ago. "Sure. How shall I go about it, then?" Sakura pretended to have an epiphany, but Naruto was aware of this. "Why don't we sit down and get a drink and you can tell me about the place?" With a nod of approval, Naruto turned to face the lone bar in the town. "Follow me." Sakura stalked the rather unremarkable-looking man, slowly calculating her next move to get her information. Drunkenness, friendship, or seduction. She didn't know which would work right now, if any at all. This might be challenging unless the guy drank a lot because he seemed kind of distant. Sakura pondered why it appeared like everyone in the village was returning home as they strolled. Not even midday had arrived, but everyone she saw was heading inside. Perhaps it was a custom from the area, or was it something to do with the glance they gave her guide before turning to head inside? It wasn't quite right, but she wasn't sure. slowly, so that the villagers would have plenty of time to notice the red shoes, his warning sign that he might need to use force. Naruto walked. He watched as they took notice of the shoes and went inside. Sakura made an effort to approach him when he entered the bar and took a seat. Naruto was certain that she was so focused on her work that she failed to notice the customers leaving one by one until he and Sakura were the only ones remaining. Even the bartender entered the maintenance closet in the back of the store after serving them drinks. Up until he heard what he had been waiting for, Naruto wasn't really listening to anything Sakura was saying. "Do you know where I can find a blacksmith in town? I keep a dagger for self-defense, but it got broken recently." Naruto paused to reflect. Looks like Konoha was hired by Blackbeard's creditor because there were Leaf.Nin here inquiring about him. Naruto then realized that he didn't really even need to conceal their bodies that well because Leaf Ninja weren't allowed in Cloud. Assuming it no longer escalated to violence, which it always seemed to do, the man had started a fight the last time Naruto attempted a peaceful resolution, and since Naruto felt a duty to defend the villagers, well, after a few extreme violent moments, things got out of control, and one of the villagers suggested that he find a way to alert the others to the impending violence, and so the red shoes. "So what should we do right now? Does he need to let Sakura know where the smith lodged? Those genin were definitely searching for him already, and by the time they all got together later, one of them was bound to have located him." Naruto realized that he needed to either eliminate them all or frighten Sakura into leaving. Naruto hoped Sakura wasn't much more terrifying than the last time he had seen her. But how can you frighten them off? It wasn't really Naruto's intention to come out. "Kill them already, please, without threatening them. You can't frighten them, and without disclosing us, you can't make a credible threat." The fox had a point, but Naruto didn't feel like resorting to violence today, especially not against someone he'd considered a friend. Alright, enough about violence. He ought to go outside if he was going to become violent. He got to his feet and started leaving the bar, ignoring Sakura's odd glance that she had directed at him due to his prolonged silence. "I'll take you there." Sakura felt a bit uneasy, at least she hadn't raised his suspicions about this weird guy. And everybody, where the devil was he? She trailed after the man as he left the empty bar. Her guide stopped and they got out in the middle of the road. Sakura grew even more suspicious, and her suspicions were validated when the man turned to face her with a deadly serious expression on his face, revealing very little emotion that quickly disappeared. "I'm sorry, Sakura-chan. I can't let you complete your mission here." Sakura gave a start. "How on earth did this foreigner know my name? Who are you?" she questioned, taking a combat stance. She needed to find out how good this man was first, even though she was tempted to call for her genin, who she sensed was watching silently. If this guy was truly a threat, she could not risk her genin. Though he didn't appear to be one, she could sense the suppressed desire to kill even from a distance of a few feet. Sakura was not even interested in finding out how much killing intent was required to be incapable of suppressing it completely. Who are you? Experience and Kyuubi's advice told Naruto that the more he used psychological warfare to weaken his opponent, the less power he would need to use and the less likely he would be to reveal himself. Even though he was hesitant to use violence right away with this girl, he had made up his mind to use it even though he knew he was hinting at some slight killing intent. Naruto then had another idea, though. Cloud had no reason to dislike him, and Konoha was unlikely to pursue him there. Perhaps he could expose himself to Sakura and frighten her away. "The extent of your work in Leaf escapes you. There was no way they could let you go. However, they would not want to start a conflict with Cloud because they are aware that I killed even Anbu. Maybe I don't have to kill her. Ninjas shouldn't allow their feelings to stand in the way of their objectives. However, if I can end this amicably, for once. You weakling, be that way. However, if she returns or refuses to leave." "Yes, I am aware of that." Naruto spoke without hesitation. "You don't remember your old teammate, Sakura-chan? We're disappointed." The girl with pink hair had eyes as big as dinner plates. Naruto gave up using his henge. "I protect this village, Sakura. And I won't have you threatening any of the people here. Why don't you go back to Konoha? The man you're looking for is gathering the money to pay your client right now. He just needs a little longer." Naruto moved forward to match Sakura's retreat. The blonde realized her team was watching from across the street and said, "You don't need to throw away your life and the lives of your team to get the money from a guy who will pay soon anyway." Sakura's expression became stern. "I can't go back with a failed mission. A failed C rank, especially." Naruto gave a small scowl. When did she become so courageous? And foolish? You realize that our presence bumps the rank of your mission to S rank? There's no shame in a genin team failing an S-rank mission. Draw a kunai, Sakura. I'm not weak like I used to be, Naruto. I will complete this mission. So you can either get out of my way and come back with me, or I can beat you senseless and you can do both unwillingly. Naruto's blood-red eyes glowed a little, and even through the upturned collars of his cloak, his scowl was visible. They're still trying to get us to come back. I thought we made it clear that we knew your real reasons for wanting us back. Leave before we lose our temper. Sakura lunged at him, holding out her kunai, saying, "You're going to regret getting in my way, Naruto." Though he was hesitant to kill his longtime friend, Naruto had no such reservations about her team. As Sakura unleashed an unstoppable kunai swing, Naruto remained motionless until the very last moment, when he Kawarimi'd alongside one of her students. Unexpectedly, the pink-haired medic Nin, who had learned basic jutsu from an S-rank criminal, decapitated her own student with the immense force Tsunade had taught her. Beside his head, the student's body hit the ground. Sakura stood there, her eyes wide, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You see, Sakura-chan, if you had just listened to us, this wouldn't have happened. Maybe you should leave while you still have a team." Sakura was currently experiencing whatever it was that was making most people so weak and stupid, though Naruto and Kyuubi weren't exactly sure what it was. They witnessed her persuading herself to engage in combat once more, and they could almost feel her conjure up a powerful hatred. Silently, Naruto snorted. For some reason Kyuubi never explained, anger only benefited demon hosts by improving the demon-body connection. But anger just made normal people stupid and aggressive. Once more, Sakura lunged directly towards him. Seeing that Kyuubi and Naruto wouldn't fall for the same ruse twice, they simply jumped out of the way. Sakura turned and threw a few kunai after running past them. Naruto hardly made a movement to avoid the badly launched kunai. How should they wrap this up now? Perhaps the death of another student? Naruto awaited Sakura's next charge. However, Sakura extended one hand, and Naruto noticed that the chakra glowed on each of her fingertips. Acknowledging the sealing method Orochimaru had employed on them so long ago, he and Kyuubi growled. They had no idea how it would affect them in the future, but they had no intention of finding out. Naruto and Kyuubi used a great deal of chakra to make an army of demonic clones without the need for seals. The majority of these clones attacked Sakura right away. With only a few scratches, the blonde host mercilessly tore through the crazily aggressive clones. Even as Sakura completed the clones and reactivated the sealing technique, the current occupants of the red-eyed body remained unconcerned. Holding an unconscious genin between them, two fiery clones leapt to land next to the blonde. Naruto spoke in a quiet, low tone. "Well, Sakura, how much is this mission worth to you? It's worth at least one student, we can see. But is it worth 2 or 3? Sakura exposed her canines. "Leave them out of this." With a smile and a laugh, the blonde boy experienced the well-known joy of having bloodlust. Their red eyes glowed with anticipation. "Leave them out? You brought them here. We won't let you finish your mission here, but we will gladly kill your students one by one." Sakura was afraid, but she couldn't possibly tell him or them. She had to save her students, but how could she return empty-handed? But how could she return after losing her whole team, even if she could somehow beat this demon boy? She shed a few more tears. Naturally, Naruto was correct. It was now too hard to finish this mission. Even now, she is unable to heal herself because of a few minor scratches that burned slightly from what she knew to be demonic chakra. Sakura took Naruto up on his offer and departed with her 2 remaining pupils. She had not dared to inquire about Naruto's plans for the third's body, so she refrained from doing so. Upon her return to Konoha, she dismissed her students and proceeded to deliver the mission report by herself. Tsunade's first reaction upon seeing Sakura's face was that something was off. What happened? Mission failed. 1 casualty. What? On a C rank? Sakura started crying once more. "We ran into him, Tsunade." Tsunade didn't have to inquire as to Sakura's subject. Being aware that people would have been observing from their windows, Naruto felt that he had somewhat exposed himself, so he was taken aback by how appreciative everyone was. To his further surprise, no one appeared to be concerned about the obviously evil power he had been wielding. They must have all felt it, but they didn't seem to care for whatever reason. Black-haired San had tried to offer Naruto goods or money in exchange for looking after the ninja that afternoon, but Naruto had dismissed his advances. It wasn't like he was in need of cash or anything, and besides, he had committed to doing this. It was in the spirit of aiding the village, and he had already received free food and accommodation as a result, so. That's what he told himself. Anyway, Kyuubi remained silent and simply laughed at him. As evening drew in, Naruto sat on a bench staring into space while the villagers, who had come out of their houses soon after he had chased Sakura, were gradually preparing for the night. When long, blonde hair.san took a seat next to him, he didn't look up. Aku, are you alright? Naruto swiveled to give her a quick look. Yeah, I'm fine, just thinking. Well, I mean, we all wanted to let you know that we appreciate everything you do for us. I know that most of the time we would have done things differently, but you have always let us know that you're, well, you know. Naruto grinned. Evil, she gave a small nod. You never made any attempt to appear otherwise, and so when you deal with situations in that way, we can't really complain, especially since you do it for us. She rested her head on his shoulder. You don't have to be so distant to everyone, you know. We accept you for who you are, even if you are evil itself. For some reason, Naruto felt more at ease. Thank you, blonde.san. Grinning, she got up to go. Have a good night, Aku, if you ever need anything. Rolling his eyes, Naruto said. She would automatically go into the, if you ever need anything, speech after he had concluded his conversation with her, as if on cue. Naruto had discovered by now that she would not be persuaded that he deserved anything, as she essentially disregarded any criticism he leveled at himself. See you later, blonde.san. She gave me another smile and turned to walk to her house down the street. Naruto grinned at her as he turned to leave, happy that he had at last found a place where he was accepted for who he was. Not only that, he'd avoided killing anyone. Sort of, anyway. In a sense, Sakura had already killed him. Furthermore, one death was far lower than usual. Tsunade had a fresh plan. They had had enough of being kind to the demon, whom she refused to refer to as Naruto because that name belonged to a human. She turned to face the ninja in front of her, who was wearing a mask. Okay, Kakashi. I want you to sneak over to that cloud village and do a covert operation there. You have to make the villagers think they reject him, or at least give the impression that they do. When he turns violent and begins killing the villagers, we can go get him, and we can ask Cloud for permission to do so because they won't want a demon within their borders. And yes, we do need to do this, before you ask. He is still a threat if he is interfering with our missions, and we cannot simply let him go like we did in the past. So, Kakashi, grab whoever you think you'll need, and head out. With a nod, the Junin departed. After giving them a brief explanation of the mission, Kakashi picked up Kurenai for her genjutsu, Jiraiya for his combat skills and sealing, Ino for her mind, body, switch, and Shikamaru for his planning. The following morning, they set out for Cloud. Because the resistance was wearing thin and because Naruto knew he really didn't want to run away anymore, he was cornered and there was no way out. Naruto growled, fine, blonde.san, I'll go to lunch with you. The woman in front of him grinned widely and practically leapt with delight. I've already decided where to go, so let's go. She hauled him off to a classy dining establishment. After reaching a clearing outside the Cloud Village, Kakashi and his group said, alright, Shikamaru, turning to face the slothful Chunin in his rear. You come up with any good plans? With a grunt, Shikamaru said, I think we have two options. We can either tell the villagers about him directly and let them reject him on their own, or we can use Ino to incite a strong rejection of him among those who are close to him. Since the first is a little less risky and Sakura's report seemed to suggest he only reacted to protect the people present, I would prefer it. Therefore, even if we are discovered, there's a chance he won't act, whereas if we were employing Ino's method, he might launch an instant attack. We'll try it, Kakashi said, nodding. Besides, who in his right mind wouldn't reject him if we can persuade them that he is evil manifested? The blonde across from him was grinning, and Naruto couldn't help but smile a little bit because she was getting way too excited. As much courteous banter as she could manage without breaking the taboo of inquiring about his past, long, blonde hair.san brought up the subject, and Naruto was relieved that everyone had finally come to the conclusion that he was not interested in talking about it. Eventually, no one asked about it anymore. Because he hadn't practiced as a ninja in so long, Naruto was unaware that Kakashi was observing him from outside the restaurant. Kakashi watched, seeing a potential backup plan in case the villagers didn't believe them, and he gave the other members of the team a signal to start spreading the word about this demon. Kurenai allowed herself to be engrossed in a group of women who wished her well in the city and offered to give her a tour. The kunoichi allowed them to treat her badly because she knew it would cheer them up and increase the likelihood that they would believe her when she described the horrible evil that the blonde boy had revealed. Jiraiya chose to start at a bar and jumped into a discussion that was already underway. Shikamaru lost himself in his wanderings until he came upon a group of men playing shogi. Upon realizing that Naruto and his companion were not likely to leave anytime soon, Kakashi left them at the eatery and joined a group of men conversing outside of stores, presumably while their wives went shopping. Ino was at a loss for what to do. She ended up just meandering around the village since she couldn't find anyone to fit in with. She eventually found herself bored and standing outside a restaurant. She glanced out the window and gave a start when she noticed Naruto. She wrapped herself up in an easy genjutsu quickly, but then she knew it wasn't necessary. In deep conversation with the blonde sitting across from him, Naruto was engrossed. For some reason, this irritated Ino. Ino watched the two for almost an hour before noticing they got up to leave the restaurant. Still out of sight, she followed. She could hear what they were saying now that they were outside the building. "I'm so glad you finally agreed to eat with me. It wasn't so bad, was it?" the woman said, grinning, although Ino assumed she had no idea why. "It wasn't because I feared you would be uninteresting, blonde-san. I just don't think it's very healthy to become too close to me. You know, Aku, just because you view yourself as some sort of curse doesn't mean the rest of us do. We really appreciate all that you do for us. And besides, you're polite and gentlemanly and generally a nice guy to be around. Except when I'm killing people." The fair-haired lady chuckled. "You get so hung up on that. You only kill when you need to. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know where you got such ridiculous ideas about yourself, but you need to get rid of them now. I've never even once seen you do anything I didn't approve of." Naruto grinned. "Thank you, blonde-san. She grinned. "It's the least I can do." For a short while, they were silent. For some reason, their conversation irritated Ino, so she was relieved. Abruptly, a generic cloud ninja descended from the sky and landed in front of them on the street. "Excuse me, sir and miss, have you seen any strange people around, or had any foreigners in the village recently? We heard that there have been some leaf ninja crossing the border, and if so..." The nations had been threatened with war for decades, and the ninja didn't need to announce it. "Well," blonde-san replied, "there was this leaf ninja team that came here a few weeks ago, on some mission. But they left a while ago." The ninja's eyebrows went up. "Is that so? Thank you, miss. If you see or hear of any more, please let us know. We have a man stationed in the bar right now if come up with any more information for us." Naruto and Kyuubi could smell someone behind them, so they weren't paying attention, but nobody was present. Kyuubi and Naruto abruptly extended one arm behind them to seize an unseen object. Ino's genjutsu faltered in shock. The cloud ninja was about to jump off when he noticed the leaf headband and instantly went into combat. "Surrender now or face the consequences, leaf.ninja." Taken by surprise and fearing for her safety if she resisted, Ino gave up. Kuranai was uncertain. Getting to know them, talking about Konoha, and then the evil demon possessed child who had left there, without mentioning his name, of course, since Naruto would have most likely adopted a new one, she had done everything exactly right. However, the villagers didn't understand it for some reason. Among the women, one laughed. With a smile on their faces, the women leaned in to learn more about the mysterious Aku. "Oh, you mean Aku? We always wondered where he came from. Do you know anything else about him?" they said. Kuranai failed to grasp it. What ailed these individuals? Kakashi was having comparable issues. The only thing that seemed to amuse the men were Kakashi's descriptions of all the people he had killed. The men all listened intently to the man who asked, "So what did he do in Suna? We had heard about that, stranger, and it sounded like the way Aku does things. Do you know if he was there too?" Kakashi simply gazed at the person who posed the query. How could this man not be at least a little concerned that they would all be killed by this demon? Though Jiraiya had always known from his travels that the locals were a little odd, he had never really given it much thought until now. The Sannin had planned to show the men at the bar that they were aiding someone who posed a serious risk to their own lives as well as the lives of all living things. Certainly, he had not anticipated their complete lack of surprise at what Jiraiya revealed about Naruto's past. When some of the less sober individuals informed Jiraiya about what Naruto, also known as Aku, had done in the village, he was even more shocked. Repelling some stupid pink-haired leaf ninja, who had come to collect a debt in the city, keeping it safe from attack, and so on. The white-haired pervert was perplexed as to how they were able to ignore the danger to themselves and remain so composed in the face of AKU's violent past. Until they dragged in a blonde girl, Jiraiya paid little attention to the other people in the back of the bar, dressed in military regalia. Ino did not know what fate had in store for her. She was wearing some kind of manacles that seemed incredibly heavy and took the chakra out of every jutsu move she tried. They carried her over to the bar, threw her into a corner, and started whispering to each other. Searching the bar for anything that could help her get out, Ino looked around. When she noticed Jiraiya staring at her, she nearly burst into laughter. She was still lucky, at least. A Sannin to save her life. As Jiraiya started to try to leave the group he was speaking in, Ino noticed. The two ninjas' voices grew louder, and she heard them. Why couldn't they have gone anywhere else? I hate this region, it's worse than a foreign country. You said it, man. This whole region used to worship demons, and even thought most don't anymore. They still don't give a shit about evil or anything. I hear there's no native crime in the region, because they kill for any crime. So that's why we only ever hear about traveling bandits in the region. Yeah, man, didn't you know that? These people look out for themselves. And only themselves. They wouldn't give a damn if the whole rest of the world burned. In fact, they'd probably laugh about it. The only outsiders they really care about are the ones who help them. They don't have a problem being part of Cloud because we help them. I get it, that's why we never have debt collection or similar missions out here. Yeah, man. They'd get pissed and rebel, just like they did to Konoha centuries ago. Of course, they aren't quite as military as they were back then, or at least I don't think so. What do you mean, you don't think so? If they had military power, we'd hear about it in intelligence reports. Well, man, they didn't seem to be military back when they rebelled, either. They hid it so well, that no one knew until Konoha sent a force to quell the rebellion. Then they summoned minor demons and used their evil magic or chakra to destroy Konoha's men. I heard that the major demons originally came to this world because power-hungry warlords from this region summoned them, long ago. Damn, now I'm all creeped out. Thanks for making me scared to ever come here again. Hey man, as long as you don't mess with them, you're fine. As Jiraiya drew near, Ino noticed them looking up. Jiraiya spoke up and said, "What you guys doing with such a pretty lady, huh? She is a prisoner, and you should know why, Jiraiya. You're ranked rather high in the bingo book. Do you really think we can't recognize you?" Jiraiya winced, then grinned widely. Good, so you already know me. That saves me the trouble of introducing myself, and the trouble of explaining just how much I'll hurt you if you don't let her go. Jiraiya replied with a scowl. One of the Cloud Ninja moved forward and asked, "Why are you trespassing in Cloud, Jiraiya?" The other 5 Cloud Ninjas observed with caution. The Sannin chuckled. "I don't think it's any of your business, and if you know what's good for you, you'll let her go before you ask any more questions." Tension thickened in the air. When Ino, Kakashi, and Jiraiya did not show up, Asuma, Shikamaru, and Kurenai met at the prearranged location and went in search of them. They searched the city, peering behind buildings and through windows, until they finally found them in the bar, where Jiraiya seemed to be attempting to persuade the Cloud Ninjas to let Ino go. Entering the bar, the trio of ninjas offered their assistance. When Ino noticed the 3 additional members of her team enter and take up positions right in front of the door, her heart began to melt even more. Sensing that violence might break out at any time, the patrons hurried out the back. Jiraiya grinned once more. "Now, do you really want to get into a fight with all of us?" Before the Cloud Ninja could react, they were all overcome with a tremendous sense of killing intent, and Ino witnessed Asuma, Shikamaru, and Kurenai being sent flying across the bar by a red chakra explosion. Entering were black sandals, black pants, and a cloak, the occasional red cloud breaking through the blackness. The boy was a short, fair-haired boy. The boy's face was characterized by odd, whisker-like patterns on his cheeks and a complete absence of empathy or compassion. Any sense of relief seemed to evaporate as Ino's heart appeared to stop beating. Naruto remained motionless in the doorway, surveying his surroundings. Naruto took in the surroundings. On the other side of the bar, Asuma and Kurenai stood up, slightly injured, mainly from the blow to the sturdy wooden wall. Gradually, Shikamaru stood up while supporting his shoulder. Jiraiya appeared concerned, while Ino and the Cloud Ninja exuded pure terror. Slowly and with a low, rumbling voice, Naruto and Kyuubi spoke. "Cloud Ninja, take your prisoner and get out of here. Things are about to get interesting." As soon as they could, the Cloud Ninja grabbed Ino and hurried out of the bar. The blonde child intimidated the Leaf Ninja too much for them to stop them. The blonde looked at the pervert with white hair. "So, Jiraiya, we heard you guys have been going around bringing up our past." There was a long silence. Finally, Jiraiya whispered, "Naruto, we have orders. We have to do something." Naruto's mouth twisted into a sneer and a frown at the same time. Venom laced Naruto's voice, "Do something. About what? You just have to do something about the fact that we live in Cloud. Or that we protect this village. Or that we have friends here. Or that we're still alive, despite your best efforts. Or, I know, that we might at some distant point the future possibly be some vague sort of threat to you." Jiraiya peered downward. That was partially the reason they were here, as horrible as it sounded. They were primarily afraid that Naruto might pose a threat in the future, rather than because he had truly threatened them. The way they had phrased it in Konoha sounded so much better, but... "Naruto, you slaughtered an entire village, for no reason. What do you think we're supposed to do? We can't just let you go." The fair-haired host chuckled, and Jiraiya nearly believed he heard a low, resonant laugh as well. "Of course you can let us go. It's not like you couldn't avoid coming here. And how would you know that I did what I did for no reason, unless you have mind? Powers surpassing even that of that pathetic Yamanaka." Jiraiya had never experienced such bad earlier. Naruto made it seem as though they were pursuing him for amusement or some other reason. Naruto and Kyuubi were hardly patient, saying things like, "Shut up and get out of Cloud Country, or I'll kill you." Naruto had at last reached a point where they could put the past behind them, but this guy and his group were ruining it. Naturally, Kyuubi never let the opportunity for violence pass. Red eyes with slits in them strayed to Kurenai, Shikamaru, and Asuma. "Same goes for you guys." Jiraiya fixed his determined expression. "Naruto, I'm sorry, but this is necessary." A well-known chirping sound was heard by Naruto just before he could respond. After lowering himself to a crouch, Naruto leapt through the bar's roof and used his demonic chakra to blast a hole in the wooden structure. As the Junin ran under him, Kakashi's Chidori just missed him. Naruto spun around in midair and came down onto the pavement outside the bar. Watching intently, Naruto and Kyuubi released increasing amounts of chakra as the Leaf Ninja emerged through the door. After a brief confer, they witnessed the Leaf Ninja move into action. Asuma leapt forward, drawing some kind of blade, and Kakashi revealed his Sharingan, took out a kunai, and did the same. But as Naruto got ready to face them, everything in his world started to spin, and all of a sudden, he was above the ground. Cursing, the blonde unleashed a burst of red chakra in every direction, neutralizing the genjutsu and causing the two men to stumble for a while until Naruto was able to gather his thoughts. For some reason, Asuma's handheld blades glowed blue as he dashed forward and slashed. The luminous blades cut sharply through the red chakra, the Akatsuki cloak, and deep into Naruto's torso, severing flesh and bone. When Kakashi realized Naruto was caught off guard, he withdrew his attack. Perhaps this had already ended. Before either Junin could act, a massive red hand emerged from beneath the ground and seized Kurenai as Naruto collapsed to the ground and poofed into smoke. The Junin made a fruitless struggle. Kurenai's hands were immobilized at his sides and unable to break free due to the grip's strength. Kurenai was unable to sense Naruto's location and thus was unable to use genjutsu. After creating a few seals, Kakashi vanished underground and began searching aimlessly for Naruto. A red chakra beam quickly propelled him back above ground. Knowing where Naruto was now, Kurenai used her knowledge to cast a strong genjutsu, even though she was in pain at the moment. Even with the illusion to confuse him, the demon was still able to sense Kurenai in his grasp. Rising from the earth, Naruto struck her across the face with his evil chakra's fiery claws. And once more, and once more. Kuriani delivered one more slash before his brains spilled onto the floor. Asuma fell to the floor and started to throw up. Kakashi simply gazed, his Sharingan open as he took in the scene. Shocker, Shikamaru froze. Naruto pivoted to confront the surviving ninja. His lips formed a maniacal smile and, upon hearing no response, he ducked to get ready to charge forward. "So, who's next?" he asked. "Stop." With a pause, Naruto turned to face the source of the voice. He saw Ino holding blonde San by the neck with a knife while she was covered in blood that had to have come from her captors. "If you even think about attacking, Naruto." The boy with the cloak of Akatsuki let out a loud laugh. "Ha ha ha ha. That's rich. You fools come here for morals reasons, and then what do? Why, you take an innocent hostage." Naruto came charging at Ino. "And besides, I don't think you have the guts to do it, Ino. And even if you did, what then? You can't kill her, because if you kill her, you've lost your bargaining chip. And if you can't kill her, then she's not a bargaining chip at all, is she?" Naruto's laughter intensified as Ino's eyes grew larger, No one can really take a single hostage, and even if you had more, once you had kill one, I would have to act to save the others. You leaf ninja are idiots. Abruptly, a clone materialized from the earth and seized Ino, yanking her away from blonde San. Realizing that things would soon turn violent, Ino fled for safety. Naruto approached Ino. What shall I do with you, I wonder? The group of clones that Naruto had previously left underground ambushed the remaining leaf ninja as they launched their attack. Ignoring them, Naruto and Kyuubi approached the spot where his clone was holding Ino, pinning her arms. Naruto knew, at least in his head, that she should be killed because, as most Konoha ninja did, they valued their friends' lives far too highly. Naruto, though, felt oddly hesitant. Surely he didn't really need to murder her. Could he just hurt her and let her walk away? But because she can enter our minds, she poses a threat, possibly the greatest threat. However, killing her might cause her friends to become extremely angry. However, it would be beneficial if their anger didn't affect their judgment. The blonde boy's head began to fill with voices, and he twitched, not sure whose thoughts were whose. Execute it. This is not required of you. Simply flee to another location. We've run far enough. It is obvious that they will not allow us to live in peace. ACT now. Not at all. She was a friend of ours and saw that, despite our use of evil power, we were still good people. Obviously, she doesn't care anymore. She even made a threat against our friend. Turn into a real ninja and kill your heart. Take her life to eliminate a threat. Kill her and jeopardize the effectiveness of her teammates. Take her life to demonstrate your strength. Kill her to demonstrate that you are not affected by pitiful feelings. Kill, kill, kill. Red chakra flared around Naruto, transforming his cloaked face into a mask of hate and rage, just as Ino thought the young boy was about to pass out from a seizure. The voices need to end. Stop them. The demon extended a massive red hand, snatching the girl from the clone and crushing her with a searing grip before dumping a pile of burnt bones and flesh to the ground, eerily evoking Gaara killing Sasuke. Kakashi's gaze widened. Back in Konoha, hadn't Naruto been Ino's friend? How on earth was he able to? That? Jiraiya fixed a determined expression on his face as Asuma, Jiraiya, and Shikamaru froze in shock. Naruto held their head tightly. Only that the voices got louder. It was time to get rid of the rest. They had to prevent the ninja from informing Konoha that the demon remained a threat. Not even the excruciating burn from using so much demonic chakra could divert them from their new objective, as every voice they could imagine screamed at them to kill. Naruto turned to face the 4 ninja that were still standing. They have enough ninja for 4. 4 ninjas were required. They needed to be killed. Swiftly, swiftly. Naruto charged forward at superhuman speeds, even though the demon chakra overuse had blurred the edges of his vision. With his claws extended, he charged the ninja he had previously encountered, a man who used shadows. However, the child's teacher blocked his path with the blue glow. The dark knives before he could arrive. How? Cutters. Who gives a damn? Cool? Naruto attacked the new foe, ignoring the knives and the other leaf ninja. He also forgot about clones. The teacher struck, but instead of changing course, Naruto shrugged off some chakra to block the blow. The knives entered his arm and penetrated the chakra inexplicably. Naruto's body ached, but they chose to ignore it. He had to be killed. Murder him, murder him, murder him, murder him, murder him. With his strong arm, Naruto struck, but the instructor sidestepped. Cut, sidestep. Cut, sidestep. Kick and sidestep. Naruto was sick of this game, and the instructor was obviously wise enough not to allow the evil chakra to contaminate him. Before launching himself into the air and destroying the area with a powerful wave of demon chakra, Naruto struck once more, in vain. Naruto laughed to themselves as the instructor took the blow and turned into a log. Angst. Naruto continued to draw chakra, moving ever faster. Even though they knew there was blood oozing from wounds he was making on himself, he was unable to feel his own injuries. Naruto struck the teacher with greater speed, strength, and ruthlessness. Even with only one arm remaining, Kyuubi could not continue to dodge. Who gave a damn that someone else was tossing kunai? The chakra steered it away. Right now, the only things that mattered were those evil knives and his own chakra. Naruto struck, but the instructor ducked. More chakra was drawn out by Naruto, who attacked more quickly than Asuma had ever seen anyone move. Shudder, slash, 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 and unleash a chakra wave that will blast. With a sickening thud, Asuma flew back and crashed into a stone building, collapsing to the floor. He remained seated. Shikamaru made a terrible mistake and fell to his knees. When Kyuubi noticed the motion, the demon charged at the shadow boy, who was too preoccupied to defend himself. However, the guy with the funny eye and silver hair got in the way. The demon swore aloud, believing that no one else could understand them because the sound was so warped through their bleeding lips and mouth. This was not going to last as their fight. Hell, it wasn't even as annoying as the Anbu. How come these idiots weren't in Anbu? The silver-haired man dodged every attack even faster than the last one, so Naruto jumped forward and attacked him. The fact that Naruto's vision was deteriorating didn't help either. Blood spat into their eyes and clouded his vision. All he needed was the ability to detect the man's scent and sound. Naruto attacked at an ever-increasing pace, following the sound and scent of the silver-haired Junin even as his surroundings started to spin and his sight tricked him from some kind of genjutsu that she had probably started using. Subsequently, the other white-haired man wearing the red outfit entered the fight, seemingly having completed his preparations. Naruto momentarily felt himself swerve blue flame. Tipped fingers, but he did not pause in his assault on the man with the amusing eyes. What was the name of this man? Who gave a damn? The man with white hair kept getting in the way. Naruto realized that he shouldn't have allowed those fingers to touch him because he was even better than the other guy. At all, and because Kyuubi couldn't get close to the white-haired man and they were having problems avoiding the sealing technique, it was impossible for them to attack him. Was that the reason? And keeping going after the man with the silver hair. Naruto could feel his muscles weakening after a few minutes. They wouldn't even function for long. This had to end quickly. Once more, Naruto launched an attack, which Kakashi parried as usual. However, a red hand suddenly protruded from Naruto's arm, grabbing Kakashi and impaling his arms to his sides. Nevertheless, Kakashi quickly no-seals Kawarimi before Naruto could finish him, and as a result, Naruto quickly reduced a log to ashes. And they had to sidestep another attack from that damn sealing technique before Kyuubi could follow. Leaping out of the way, they took in the scene. Naruto felt enraged. He briefly recalled his plan, then called forth an army of several thousand malevolent clones and launched an assault. Kakashi repeatedly sidestepped, took a hit, sidestepped, took another hit, and then abruptly poofed away. Shikamaru was grabbed by the Junin, and Jiraiya, being closer to Asuma's body, picked it up. They both fled as quickly as they could, realizing they would not have time to gather Ino's or Kurenai's remains. As they left town, the clones trailed behind them, leaving Naruto unconscious and lying in a growing pool of their own blood. Asuma was no lightweight, nor was Jiraiya designed to move herself in a fully grown man at blinding speeds. Jiraiya was a Sannin, and not without reason. He was forced to give up Asuma's body in an attempt to run faster as the furious clones caught up to him. A trio of clones nearly scratched his back with their claws, but Jiraiya pushed them away and continued on, leaving the clones in their wake. The following day, Jiraiya and Shikamaru went to the Hokage's office and gave an explanation for the awful turn of events. Instead of making an appearance, Kakashi plotted his own retaliation against the demon for the deaths of Asuma, Kurenai, and Ino. Perhaps a little more deception and a calculated application of the Chidori. Kyuubi and Naruto woke up in a small house that he only dimly remembered from somewhere else. A loud squealing sound startled him and sent a shockwave through his head. "Oh, you're awake." At last, Naruto was able to identify Blonde Sans home with a voice to match. The woman hurried over from the opposite side of the house to join them. "I'm so glad you're all right. Mother Knight, we thought you would die, what with all that blood around you, but you healed really fast once you stopped using so much evil, whatever it is you call it." They were relieved that she didn't think less of them after yesterday, and Naruto was vaguely amused to hear her allude to the area's dark religious past, which was rarely discussed in his presence. Chakra. Or last week, or whenever all of that took place. Blonde.San began once more. "Oh, your voice, are you alright? You sound different." Although Naruto wasn't sure how, they were aware. Would Kyuubi have told him? Alternatively, perhaps he was now more aware of how his body functioned. It was not as though he was unable to distinguish between Kyuubi and himself. Furthermore, it wouldn't really matter if he couldn't, right? We used so much chakra back there that our voice was permanently changed. Or at least semi-permanently. How long has it been since I fought them? Blonde.San scowled. She blushed as she realized how pitiful she sounded, almost a week. "I was so worried. Don't you ever do something like that again, or do something, and you won't like it." Kyuubi and Naruto sighed. It's probably best if they stay asleep today. Perhaps tomorrow. Blonde.san quietly left the room with a hopeful smile on her face as they fell back asleep. When Naruto awoke, there were many ninjas in a tiny room. Without pausing for thought, Kyuubi unleashed a tremendous wave of murderous intent and encircled themselves with their regular chakra of protection, which burned even hotter than usual because their bodies hadn't fully healed from the demonic chakra overload they'd experienced earlier. Fear combined with the slight shockwave that came from using so much chakra so quickly caused several ninja to topple over. The others drew kunai and retreated toward the walls. When the blonde had fully awakened, she realized they were Cloud Ninja. Perhaps they came not to fight. But that would be unfortunate. They had only killed a handful of people in the previous battle and had worn themselves out. 3. What? 4. Who gave a damn? The ninja present in the room either stood up sheepishly or relaxedly when Naruto revealed his intention to kill. A more formal, dressed Junin ninja moved forward and held out a scroll, his eyes fixed on the ground. We are sorry, Aku-sama. On second thought, we probably should not have all come in here. But we were not sure if you would be well enough to come out, and to meet you with less than this escort would be an insult, I'm sure. Though the chakra armor vanished, red eyes simply stared back at him, proving that Naruto understood. The man shifted and ducked his head. Oh, so this scroll contains information about a deal the Raikage wants to make with you. I assume you know about the recent Leaf intrusion? The blonde asked, giving a barely perceptible nod of agreement. And you are, of course, aware of the hostility between Leaf and Cloud, so I don't think you need to be told what the Raikage thinks of this, and, to make it short, we would like your assistance in a few key missions. The man had been holding the scroll out for the entire time when Naruto took it from him. The man went on in a soothing voice that seemed to be a mix of respect and fear. This, Aku, was to be treated with the utmost respect, the Raikage had made that very clear. Furthermore, given that the messenger Junin was also aware of Aku's abilities, he took great care to steer clear of anything that would agitate the boy. There is no lasting commitment on your part, though if you want to help us after this you are certainly welcome. We would just like to borrow your expertise for a few weeks or months, and then we won't ask anything more of you. While the man was speaking, Naruto was primarily preoccupied with reading the scroll. Dear esteemed sir, etc., etc. Kyuubi quickly reached the letter's main content. We need your help to launch an assault on Konoha. Naturally, as a civilized nation, we have no intention of conquest, but we must teach the Leaf to stay out of our nation. They have too much for free. Blah blah blah. For your assistance, we would be happy to provide any financial compensation that falls within a fair range of the value of your services, which we estimate to be in the several million Ryu range, as well as lifelong access to any combat gear, weapons, or other items you may want to acquire or create. For as long as you live in Cloud Country, you will also receive a pension that is equal to that of a retired Junin. Once more, we would be very grateful for blah blah blah, and the remainder of the letter was filler. Whatever the Junin was saying, Naruto cut him off. So are we meeting the Raikage or is he somewhere else? The man hesitated for a brief moment, pausing to reflect or perhaps startled by the snarling voice. Well, he is in a nearby town preparing the attack. If you would like to meet him, that can certainly be arranged. Whatever we can do to accommodate you. Kyuubi believed it would be nice for them to see the man they were collaborating with. I'll go see him. Where is he? He is about 5 miles south of here. That will be all I need. Oh, and a bit of information for you. The man looked up, but he continued to avoid looking into their eyes. We're not a wild animal. Eye contact won't make me kill you. The man looked into Kyuubi's blood-red eyes with noticeable effort as he blushed and appeared somewhat embarrassed. Sorry, Aku-sama. With a rolling of his eyes, Naruto dismissed them. It was necessary for him to inform Blonde.san about this new arrangement. And I think this would really help our position against Cloud, Hokage-sama. Tsunade gave Kakashi a dubious glance. You really think that killing his only remaining friends will help us by making him angry? I don't see how making him angry will help. With a sigh, Kakashi started speaking in a tone reminiscent of a teacher imparting knowledge to a student for the 1000th time. People make mistakes when they get angry. So he will be less able to fend me off. Kakashi, we've tried something like that before. Remember what happened on your last mission? I've looked up the seal the Ondaime used, and strong emotions make it weaker. I'm not sure exactly how they operate without the seal, but I imagine it can't be too different if they are still in one body. Making him angry will make him more powerful. But it will also make him less intelligent and less accurate, which is all I will need. Kakashi, you are a very skilled shinobi, but he's taken out teams of Anbu. What are you going to do against him? Kakashi grinned. Yes, he's taken out teams of Anbu. Up to 3 teams at a time, or so I heard. Killed them all. But have you noticed that the small teams we sent more recently have suffered less than that? Judging from that and from watching how he fights using my Sharingan, I can see this now. He fights with huge, broad strokes, which hurt everyone in an area. Or he stuns many people with a large attack and then grabs one and finishes him off. He is terrible at single combat. We used basic replacement techniques against him with complete success. It was only when we were in the same general area that he could get any of us, because ninja are always taught that a group is better than an individual. Tsunade grinned. If you really think you can do it, Kakashi, Konoha would be forever indebted to you. And make sure to include Jiraiya. If the demon is as bad at detecting techniques as you say, Jiraiya can simply hide unless or until you need help. With a nod, Kakashi turned to leave the room. Oh, and Kakashi. The legendary sucker was facing the Junin when he turned around. Good luck, Kakashi. Only a few days after receiving the letter, Naruto slumped into a chair across the table from the Raikage. You called, so I came to hear exactly what it is you wanted me to do. The letter was kinda vague. The Raikage sat up straight, quickly masking his annoyed expression from AKU's demeanor. Yes, we are about to cross the border into Leaf, and we would like you to lend a hand against any Leaf ninja you happen upon. The letter was vague because your mission is somewhat vague. Basically, once we start the attack, we would like you to help out against any Leaf ninja you happen to encounter. Kyuubi grinned. So if I see or hear any Leaf ninja, I kill them. The Raikage gave a nod. Straight to the point. Yes, we would like you to kill any Leaf ninja you happen across, preferably without harming any of our ninja. I have heard that you are a bit wild, but if you can, we would like you to be extra cautious about harming any Cloud ninja. Naruto laughed. If they stay out of my way, they won't get hurt, and I won't intentionally kill them, so don't worry too much. I've never killed anyone back in the village, right? The Raikage chuckled uneasily. Yes, so it shouldn't be too difficult for you, I guess. A Cloud ninja wearing a Chunin dress suddenly rushed into the space. Lord Raikage, the Leaf has attacked a village 5 miles north of here, and killed everyone there. Everybody in the room went rigid. Furious to the point of insanity, Naruto was unsure of what to do. Attack Konoha, search the village for potential survivors, or simply flee as far as possible. Kyuubi was unintentionally releasing an incredible amount of killing intent, which made the ninja freeze. Abruptly, Naruto dashed directly north, speeding past people, buildings, and walls. In his hands, the Raikage buried his face. This is not good at all. In less than 3 minutes, Naruto traveled 5 miles, leaving a path of devastation in his wake. Rather than dodging trees, he simply blasted them out of his path. He ran straight through bushes, burning them instead of avoiding them. When Naruto first arrived in the village, he hurried to Blonde San's house without even noticing the silver-haired ninja hiding between 2 buildings. Kakashi grinned. That was it. Retribution for his fallen allies, the defeat of an adversary, and the accomplishment of a previously abandoned mission. Kakashi strolled over to where Naruto was after waiting to hear the growling roar that indicated the demon had located her body. As he turned a corner, he noticed the boy holding her body close to his. So, Naruto, how's it going? When Naruto turned to face Kakashi, he instantly recognized her. Naruto launched an unspoken attack. With a raised eyebrow, Kakashi dodged the flying Naruto. Not even his layer of chakra protection was being used by the boy. It would be simple to do this. Kakashi threw a kunai, but it was knocked away by a tiny bit of chakra that suddenly shot out. Naruto arrived before Kakashi had time to gather his thoughts after being startled. Nevertheless, since the boy was hardly using any chakra at all, Kakashi didn't need to worry too much. Or at least that was his belief until he unintentionally blocked a punch rather than dodging as he had been doing. A sharp pain shot through his forearm, and he understood that Naruto was just stabbing Kakashi with a small amount of chakra on each attack, using as little chakra as possible. What made him use his chakra so conservatively, though? Naruto was attacking faster and faster, delivering seemingly innocuous punches and kicks that Kakashi now realized he needed to avoid just as much as he had avoided attacks with the demonic chakra in previous encounters, so he didn't have time to think. Kakashi was amazed by Naruto's taijutsu. It was undoubtedly more powerful than he had anticipated and showed what the enraged genin was capable of. He was therefore not shocked to see that Naruto did not appear angry as he dodged a kick and struck out with one of his own. The boy's face was actually a mask of indifference. completely devoid of emotion. Naruto attacked with this apathy, and he blocked every blow Kakashi threw at him without even appearing to care. After some time, Kakashi began to feel strange pain in his legs and arms. It was only after another kick was blocked that Kakashi noticed it. His Sharingan picked up on the trace of chakra that Naruto used to counterattack each block. Kakashi decided that the taijutsu was not helping him, so he leapt back and burst through the seals to unleash the massive fireball. Kyuubi just leapt out of the way, disappearing behind a building after crossing it. When Naruto practically immediately leapt back over to attack, Kakashi was not shocked. The demon must have been angry, even if he didn't show it, and that's why he wasn't interested in tactics. That was Kakashi's initial thought, at least, until he felt hands snatching his ankles from below. With a swift motion, Kakashi swapped himself out for a log, and Naruto launched a chakra claw that vanished in the process. Before noticing the ground trembling, Kakashi glanced at the two Narutos. All around him, dozens of clones suddenly erupted from the ground. He was unable to avoid every attack at this point, and each one he had to block sent a spike of evil chakra into his body. Even though Kakashi was easily defeating the clones, who appeared to be less experienced than the real Naruto, he couldn't endure this kind of abuse indefinitely. In an attempt to escalate the situation, Kakashi took out kunai and hurled it towards the clones. Flickers of chakra deflected all of the kunai, and the clones just shrugged them off. Kakashi then noticed it. It turns out that Naruto had a plan after all. He intended to keep forcing Kakashi into close quarters battle and eventually wear him out using the harm Kyuubi's chakra could do to the Junin. Kakashi realized that he needed to take action in this regard. However, what kunai were clearly of no use. Taijutsu was effective, and Kakashi's genjutsu was no more superior than Kurenai's, who had never managed to fool Naruto for very long. That left ninjutsu, but Kakashi could not think of many techniques that would be able to pass through the guardian chakra of the demon. Kakashi had to put an end to this, slay the demon, and take out the demon. So why not use a jutsu for assassination? All he had to do was position the demon so that Kakashi wouldn't miss it. After eliminating the clones, Kakashi resumed his battle with the real Naruto. Kakashi replaced himself with a clone who just avoided the attacks and did not vanish for a while he pretended to be pushed into an alley. Kakashi quickly began the Chidori when he reappeared behind Naruto. Kakashi sprang forward and thrust the Chidori into Naruto's heart before the latter could do more than turn around. Kakashi saw Naruto stand there with his eyes wide, then collapse to the ground. Poofing into smoke, too. Naruto thrust his chakra claws toward Kakashi's chest before he could do more than turn around, but someone quickly grabbed his arm. Jiraiya grinned. "That's not very nice, Naruto." Naruto scowled at the man who had materialized next to him before using a chakra wave to blast both of them away and bring down the nearby buildings. With a puff of smoke, Jiraiya disappeared, and Naruto's eyes narrowed. Jiraiya leapt back, his fingers glowing, as a sudden, excruciating pain in his back forced him to turn around. In an instant, the pain subsided, but Naruto sensed that the chakra surrounding the seal had been severed. His back protection was no longer nearly as effective. When Naruto attempted to charge the Sannin, he stumbled and was grabbed from below by two hands. The Sannin quickly capitalized on this by applying another seal and slamming his fingers into Naruto's left shoulder. Leaping to his side, Naruto seized his left arm. It was now unable to use chakra. This implied that using seals was prohibited, and similarly, using clones was prohibited. Kyuubi furrowed his brow. This was not a good thing. Kyuubi focused intently and applied more and more force to his chakra. After staring down Kakashi and Jiraiya for a few minutes, Naruto's left shoulder suddenly erupted in chakra. Kakashi and Jiraiya winced and exchanged glances. The seal was broken by Naruto. They attacked because they could not afford to waste any more time and allow him to unseal his back. Somehow, Naruto found himself remembering Neji. Tenten as well. Regretfully, they had made the decision to participate in that mission. Or, they had declined in any case. After pondering, Naruto concluded there was no good reason not to try. Naruto leapt back and assumed a somewhat familiar stance, surprising Kakashi a little as he had been stiffly blocking and dodging Jiraiya as well. No small feat. How come? He was unaware of Jukin. But it's possible that Naruto knew this from the beginning. He made the same forward lunge that he had learned from Neji. Suddenly, Kakashi was the recipient of 64 palms. Even though the demon was obviously unable to see them, not many of them were able to perform tenketsu, but it still hurt to be hit by such a powerful demonic chakra blast. A great deal. When Jiraiya intervened to help, he unexpectedly found himself in the same situation as Kakashi. Jiraiya was no Sannin for nothing, but he was unable to dodge quickly enough and was forced to block, which naturally meant that even though he was sparing his body, his arms ached from being shot full of evil chakra. With trembling, Kakashi moved to protect Jiraiya, but his body was sore and stiff from the poisoning, as if he had been running all day. Seeing his opportunity, Naruto let loose his demonic chakra, causing a whirlwind of flames to surround him. When Kyuubi attacked, Kakashi couldn't react quickly enough to match his superhuman strength and speed. Before Jiraiya intervened, he received cuts to his shoulder, one thigh, and then his chest. Naruto created a solitary seal. Around them, clones materialized, and despite their injuries and poisoning, the two ninja from the hidden leaf were unable to stop them. Before he could finish his summoning technique, Jiraiya glanced down to see his hand protruding from his chest and holding something that was still in motion. Twitch, 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 twitch. Then it came to a stop, and Jiraiya fell to the ground with a slump. Kakashi felt afraid. They were so numerous that Jiraiya was caught off guard, and Kakashi was hurt. With his Sharingan, Kakashi could parry nearly all frontal attacks, but the attacks from behind were gradually wearing him down until he made one last, slow dodge. His ribs and organs were splattered across the wall of a nearby house as clawed hands tore apart his torso. Kakashi watched Naruto start eating Jiraiya's corpse as he passed away. It was revolting, terrifying, and obscene. Demonic. Then Kakashi noticed nothing. Every 10 minutes, the Raikage received news from the front lines of battle. Things were not going well. The invading Cloud Ninja were continually encountering traps and ambushes as the Leaf Ninja made the most of their local knowledge. The Raikage believed that he was still making his point, to be sure, but if things went much worse, the Leaf might strike back, which would be problematic. It was day 2 of the war and things were not going well. Abruptly, the door parted, and the Raikage pivoted to welcome the courier and acquire the most recent updates regarding the conflict. It wasn't the messenger, though. A small figure with ruffled pale blonde hair and a black cloak adorned with red clouds stood in the doorway. Before moving to stand in front of the table, Naruto stood there for a brief while, holding the door open with his reddened hands still covered in drying blood. The Raikage grinned. "Aku, welcome back." The blonde remained silent. "Ah, well, if you are still interested in helping us, we could really use your help. We've been having some problems, you see, and the Leaf Ninja use their environment well." Naruto's voice sliced through the atmosphere, cutting off the babble of the Raikage, with the words, "Where?" It sounded deep and ominous, and yet it seemed to have come from a long way away. The Raikage pointed to one of the table's maps. He gestured to 3 locations on the map and said, "Here, here, and here." He raised his head to clarify the issues, but Naruto had already departed. The Raikage truly hoped he did not regret choosing to enlist the help of this demon. "Try not to kill my men," he exclaimed. A Leaf Chunin used his kunai to wipe the corpse of a Cloud Ninja that was nearby. That wasn't so bad, was it, man? When he turned to face his partner, he was met with a red-eyed, blonde child clutching his head in his hands. The Chunin was dead before he could even turn to run. The Leaf Chunin revealed a menacing-looking katana when it opened a scroll, blocking the onslaught of kunai. The Chunin could not help but feel a little proud of himself for inflicting such complete fear on the enemy when he looked at the 5 Cloud Chunin. With such horror, they peered at him or did they see past him? The Chunin turned to see the newest player in the bingo book, each with a leaf headband around their heads, holding 2 heads in his hands. Oh, shit. The Chunin leapt into a tree and bolted in Konoha's direction. He needed to alert the others. He shot like an arrow, leaping from branch to branch, until something struck him in the back of the leg, just behind the knee. He fell to the ground, got back up, and ran some more. Glancing back, he realized he had been tripped by one of the severed heads, and the S-rank villain was closing in on him, his expression as callous as the one in the bingo book. Countless other battles were swiftly avoided by the Chunin, who assumed the demon child would pursue easier targets. He was disappointed to see clones separating from the boy when he turned to look back. Or perhaps a clone left behind by the original and a few clones followed him. Now, every few seconds, clones were emerging from the cloaked boy and dispersing to fights in the vicinity. This was the original, of course. The Chunin forced himself to move even faster as screams that were barely audible as human voices wailing in anguish resounded throughout the forest. He was curious as to what could cause ninjas who were normally tough to scream like young girls. The clone suddenly erupted from the ground in front of him, sticking fingers in the Chunin's eyes with one hand. holding the Junin's neck with the other, and deftly ripping off the Junin's head with a swift tug on the skull, which he gripped with his fingers in the eye sockets. Taking the man's headband, Naruto added it to the assortment he already wore on his back in a bag. More headbands were dropped off by a few clones that arrived. Kyuubi didn't know why they were gathering them, except maybe to record the number of people they killed. For at that moment, they most definitely weren't bothering to count. When a stupid leaf Chunin staggered into Naruto's area, a clone quickly disemboweled him, removing the man's headband and putting it in Naruto's sack. Jogging past the screaming ninja that lay writhing in a puddle of his own blood, Naruto moved closer to his objective. Konoha. Tsunade met with the advisors she'd brought to her forward command post, which was situated just inside the gate that was shut to prevent the Cloud Ninja from entering. Though nothing had happened as of yet, the gray clouds overhead threatened rain. Before long, the Cloud Ninja would have given up. By all accounts, the Leaf Ninja were taking out the Cloud Ninja invaders, since they were familiar with the area. If fortune favors Tsunade, she might even benefit from this conflict. Abruptly, a man leapt from the wall, landed hard on the ground, got up, and hobbled over to Tsunade. Horrified, was the Hokage. The man, wearing a Junin uniform, had one arm missing, seemingly broken off halfway down from the shoulder, one eye gouged out with a massive bleeding wound surrounding it, and his good hand was holding a clearly serious wound shut on his torso. Between the fingers, Tsunade could see the man's internal organs. When she hurried to tend to him, the man shook his head. "It's too late, Hokage. Sama. But you have to know, he is here. He's slaughtering us like pigs, no one can stop him. I just barely got away. I had to warn you, The man fell to the ground, lifeless. The only way things could get worse would be if Naruto was here, which meant that Kakashi and Jiraiya were probably dead, and the demon was here. Tsunade stared, overcome by her terrible fear of blood and a horrifying sense of despair. A loud boom shook the earth and sent several ninja reeling, too slow to escape, as the gates crashed to the ground, crushing them. A blond boy with hollow red eyes stood on the other side of the fallen gates. Tsunade's eyes grew wide with panic and fear. "Hokage, don't be so depressed. There's always a chance for worse. It might be pouring with rain." Tsunade looked up, dumbfounded, and a drop of water struck her eye. "Oh, I guess it can't get worse," the cloaked figure said, his mouth twisted into an evil smirk as more water started to fall. "Regretfully for you." In the dim light of the overcast day, red eyes shone brightly. Tsunade gazed incomprehensibly at Naruto, Kyuubi, or whoever it might be. The sun's light was filtered through clouds, causing the rain between them to shimmer like fireflies. Red eyes shone softly in this light. She was at a loss for words to express the complete hopelessness she was experiencing right now. But the Anbu were always on guard, no matter how she felt. Around 12 of Konoha's finest ninjas raced towards the demonic figure after spotting a threat to the Hokage. After the light faded, Tsunade saw the cloaked child standing where he had previously been, but now surrounded by a small crater. An explosion of evil chakra blasted them all back away. She snapped out of her daze and saw what Kakashi had about Naruto's combat. He was more effective and lethal the more opponents he faced. However, there might be hope if he was attacked one-on-one. Tsunade signaled to them with her hand before the Anbu could reorganize to launch another attack, giving them her information. The elite ninja moved quickly, seizing tools and onlookers until Kyuubi was the only one left standing in front of the gates. He flashed his teeth in a fierce smile. He had no idea how much fun this would be. He continued forward, unsurprised when one ninja leapt out from under the fallen gate's cover. Naruto shot out an enormous orange spike of chakra, impaled the Anbu, and burst into smoke. Naruto moved forward, rolling his bloodshot eyes. Ninjas were incredibly predictable. 2, 1, 3. Naruto pivoted and slashed his claws across the ninja's face mask, whose clone was intended to divert his attention. But the Anbu was not without honor, and he leapt back, holding his mask against his gashed face. Bleeding since the mask's sole purpose was to conceal the wearer's identity. They offered no protection. There were now 2 long gashes across the eyes on the dog mask. After creating multiple seals with his hands, the Anbu let go of the mask and released a stream of flame from his exposed mouth. Naruto released a tiny swirl of chakra that readily neutralized the attack. However, Dog had anticipated that. But the attack had given the Anbu a diversion, allowing him to replace himself with a clone and conceal himself behind his adversary. He knew that in order to form another clone, his timing would need to be better than it was. With a kunai, The first clone attacked directly while the second approached from behind and to the boy's left. Dog turned to the right, thinking that 2 clones would be enough to divert attention. The first clone attacked, but the blonde boy stayed still. Just before he was stabbed with the kunai, he transformed into a house-sized Kyuubi and snipped off the clone's head. Despite being uneasy, Dog persisted in his attack despite the second clone's swift attack. The mini Kyuubi swung to the left and widened its mouth, unleashing a red chakra beam that instantly destroyed the clone. With a silent leap from right behind the fox, the dog stabbed at its head, greatly relieved when the kunai sank into the oblivious fox's skull. But when the fox started to smoke, that relief quickly gave way to dread. The Hokage had mentioned that the boy's preferred method had been the shadow clone, so of course it made sense. However, that proved to be ineffective at this point, as every piece of nearby debris abruptly revealed itself to be a hanged clone, and the army of clones launched an unexpected and swift attack. Clone after clone was destroyed by the ANBU's twisting, turning, and slashing maneuvers, but they persisted. Before long, he was grazed on the arm, slashed across the back, and had his right hamstring severed by a claw. Dog felt his reflexes deteriorating. One more hit, and still another. He Kawarami'd away, deciding that he had served his purpose for the time being, and started jogging as quickly as his injured legs would allow. Since it was just a genin with a demon, the boy wouldn't find him. The Anbu held this belief up until his demise 2 seconds later, when a kunai in his pouch disemboweled him and changed into a clone. Though Tsunade was aware that not many Anbu would likely survive this day, she hoped that they would eventually wear down and kill the demon. Naturally, even in the unlikely event that they were successful, Cloud still had a significant advantage over them. There had to be a response. Tsunade made a concerted effort to think, and an even greater effort to ignore the overwhelming aura of the demonic chakra nearby and the sense of impending doom. Naruto meandered through Konoha, heading towards the tower of the Hokage. Like water, shadow clones gushed off of him, hurrying to tend to the Anbu that was left to tend to him. Kyuubi was able to produce as many clones as he required and provide them with enough chakra to perform their own jutsus because of his seemingly endless supply of chakra. There was nothing more convincing than a clone that reproduced itself. Primarily because no one else possessed sufficient chakra to squander on such tricks. Kyuubi pondered for a while whether the Hokage would actually be so foolish as to withdraw to the Hokage Tower. Though it was possible, she and the others had probably moved past their constant devaluations of him, don't they? Either way, Naruto required her. Since he knew she wouldn't be more willing to give anything, he would receive from her what he couldn't get from anyone else. It was the sole route. Kyuubi was too focused on destroying that he disregarded Naruto's silent thoughts. Tsunade gazed outside her office window. Naturally, the boy with the demon power would choose the quickest path to the tower, encountering each Anbu in the process. It should take her at least another 30 minutes to take action regarding the impending threat. She tried to think of a backup plan in case the Anbu failed to impress, feeling a little bad for being so indifferent to her Anbu casualties. Of course, she could fight herself, but that was probably not the best plan. Even though she was Sannin, she fought primarily with her fists and feet, which was probably a bad idea against a rival whose mere presence could be dangerous. She questioned whether it would be feasible to try to get the child a job back in Konoha. He had once been a leaf ninja and, based on the files she had perused, had expressed a strong desire to become Hokage. Perhaps a rank and some serious cash would bribe him. Naturally, this is assuming Konoha had any money left over from this war. Thoughts of what to do with Tsunade when he arrived crossed Naruto's mind. He required an inventive way to get even for killing his friend. It wouldn't be enough to just skin her alive or rip off her head. Not just the childish things that regular ninjas did would have to be the kind of cruel punishment. It sounded fun to be burned alive, especially since he could use Kyuubi's already corrosive chakra for that. However, in order for that to work, he would need to inflict near fatal wounds, and there was a chance the woman would end her own life or flee before then. How was he going to keep her still while he burned her? The whispers in the shadows told Naruto what to do, and he smiled. Gazing up the tower's side, he laughed along with his darker companion. If she didn't have any guards out here, the Hokage was apparently pretty sure that he was dumb. It was astonishing that they hadn't sensed him yet, or perhaps the Anbu had all vanished. Or maybe Naruto was wrong and they weren't even here. That would not be pleasing. Then again, it would be enjoyable to be compelled to destroy Konoha in his pursuit of her. He'd heard that torturing civilians was more enjoyable because they begged and screamed rather than gnawing off their tongues or something. Tsunade started to feel increasingly uneasy. Perhaps it was because she sensed that everyone else was watching her, and she was anxious about getting discovered. However, she perceived the air she inhaled as being dense and oppressive, similar to the demon's aura. Leaping over her desk, Tsunade spun around to face the cloaked blonde standing silently in the window. Whether a demon or not, this kid had to be truly exceptional to pass through so many Anbu so quickly. Tsunade was startled when the members of Anbu, those wearing masks of hawks, monkeys, cats, and dogs, suddenly burst through the door. What kept them alive? Hadn't she given them the task of holding off the demon? Well, Tsunade, I must say that I am disappointed in your security around here. The Anbu got here no sooner than I did, although I walked up the side of the tower in broad daylight. Even in this scenario, the Anbu wearing the hawk mask was able to sound like a sheep. We were fighting, and suddenly there were no more clones. We figured that he had bypassed us and come here, so we hurried here. Kyuubi peered through the door they had come through to survey the Anbu. And so you ran up the stairs? Well, yes. Naruto made a deep, scratchy sound as he laughed. Aren't you ninja? Why didn't you just jump through the window? Quote. Through the masks covering their faces, Naruto insisted he saw a blush. Tsunade gave the boy a nod before bolting out the door. But before the Anbu could react, Dog burst into an enormous ball of flaming chakra. The three Anbu were left in critical condition to perish in the Hokage office when Naruto disappeared in a puff of smoke. Tsunade, in the meantime, sprinted through the village, avoiding the people who were rushing to the tunnels for safety. Just as she was pushing her way through a thick crowd, wondering why people were still going there 30 minutes after the orders were given, all of the people stopped and turned to face her. Tsunade's face went pale as she frantically glanced around, realizing that everyone was staring at her. Nothing was left of the people entering the tunnels. Naturally, they were there already, having been warned of the potential risks posed by a ninja attack. The city was completely empty of civilians. The villagers all erupted in smoke, exposing the blonde boy's smirking clones. She could hear voices all around her. Where are you going, exactly? I don't think there's anywhere near here where you'd be any safer. Unless you're looking for people. Surely you don't think I would let them go. Tsunade had no reason to doubt him, not when she heard the screaming as the boy's clones massacred everyone they encountered. So, if you're not going to a place, or a person, perhaps you're looking for thing? Tsunade's brow wrinkled in focus. She could undoubtedly take action to stop this. Subsequently, she recalled Kakashi, from prior to his final mission. Did he not say that the boy lacked skill in 1-on-1 fighting? If that were the case, there was no one better to ask than a member of the fabled Sannin. When Tsunade clenched her knuckles and assumed a combat stance, Naruto rolled their eyes. Though he had hoped to break her before anything else, he might as well start now if that was all he was going to get out of her. Tsunade leapt to her feet as clones with the same odd grin appeared all over the ground. She took off, followed by the clones. Tsunade, however, was no Sannin for nothing. She used her immense strength and a combination of control and chakra to batter every clone that managed to catch up to her while she was in midair. She landed on a building, dropped a small piece of paper, and then leapt away once more. The explosive tag caused a massive blast that tore apart the clones that had landed on the roof right behind her. After landing in the middle of the street, Tsunade turned to face the sea of impassive Naruto clones jogging forward. Tsunade kicked several into the following week, avoided several punches, smashed one clone's face, and continued dodging. Any clone that approached her would be dealt a swift death as she spun and waited. She could now see what Kakashi had intended to say, and what Kakashi had clearly failed to capitalize on. The clones were better suited to dealing with multiple targets because they were believed to be equally skilled as the original and, based on what she had heard, even capable of using chakra. They hindered each other's progress toward her, which made them much less effective. Tsunade discovered that Naruto had this ability for all of his abilities as she attempted to organize her next move. Every tactic Tsunade had heard him employing gave the victim a slight advantage. The clones obstructed each other. The blast of chakra blocked Naruto's vision, and Tsunade surmised that the demon's extensive chakra usage obscured any nearby chakra signatures. Therefore, Tsunade only really needed to irritate the boy slightly in order for him to use Kyuubi's chakra. She could then hide and decide what to do next. Really, all she needed to do was give the boy a solid blow to the head, but that would not be feasible with all the clones. Later on, though, she could worry about that. She was happy to beat the living hell out of Naruto's clones for the time being. She put on a self-assured grin, and in less than a minute, she was rewarded as the clones suddenly lashed out with chakra. Tipped claws. After a few more minutes, each clone was a tiny, demonic chakra hell. Abruptly, Tsunade disappeared, and the clones scattered, smashing whatever they could find in their ferocious hunt for the Hokage. Tsunade concealed her chakra, performed a small genjutsu, and fled to a different area of the city. She saw fewer and fewer clones as she ran until she was by herself in the village on the other side. Until she saw him, alone, eating a bowl of what was presumably lukewarm ramen while seated at the abandoned Ichiraku ramen stand. Tsunade ducked closer to the container of demons. This was it, there could be no doubt about it. Clones did not eat, and that was what it was doing. Tsunade wasn't even sure they could, to be honest. But before she could move to launch an assault, a deep, raspy voice caught her attention. "Have a seat, Tsunade." She sat down next to the cloaked blonde child, who, upon closer inspection, turned out to be at least a foot shorter than her, feeling strangely safe. "Have some ramen. It's not hot, but it will do." And Tsunade carried it out. They each finished their bowls after a few minutes. Naruto got up and strolled down the empty street. Tsunade trailed after him, pausing a few feet away and turning to face him. Naruto gave her a serene glance. "There is something I want from you, Tsunade." In an attempt to incite the demon's wrath, Tsunade grinned. "This is the only thing I'll ever give you, demon." With an extreme display of overconfidence, she lunged forward and gave the boy a powerful punch to the face. The body collapsed into a heap as the sickening crack and squelch echoed through the silence. Tsunade saw clones assembling on the rooftops and dropped into a fighting stance. They would attack, she knew, as soon as the clone she had taken out would vanish into a cloud of ninja smoke. But nothing happened after a few tense moments. Tsunade surveyed the clones around her. She turned to face the bleeding body, whose mutilated skull and face protruded over the road. One clone advanced, and Tsunade saw that it appeared weak, almost translucent, as it got closer. Actually, it appeared that way to her now that she was observing them all. Tsunade wasn't entirely certain she heard the clone whisper in such a low voice. "That's all I wanted, anyway." With a sigh, Tsunade left yet another town on her jog, the wealthy following closely behind. But it was for a different reason ever since that day. "You come back here. I know you cheated. No one wins that often. There is no possible way you won a jackpot on every machine." Tsunade was aware of the reason. There was nothing left to lose but bad luck. Kyuubi used all his strength to curse that foolish child in the depths of the night. After all that effort to demolish Konoha, the foolish child allowed the Hokage to punch him in the face with the force of a tank. The idiot had not only allowed it to occur, but he had also stopped Kyuubi from taking any action. Furthermore, Shinigami was not even thinking of clearing him of the guilt once more. Partly in pain, partially in rage, the fox let out a roar. It was not nice to be in hell. Nevertheless, Kyuubi took some time to consider why the boy would act in such a foolish manner despite all of his pain and rage. Naruto strolled leisurely through a verdant field, relishing the radiant sunlight and pure atmosphere. He could see other people playing by the glistening river, and there were sporadic flowers scattered across the grass. A fairly forceful poke to the side startled him out of his reverie. "Sorry, blonde-san. What did you say?" The woman attempted to appear irate, but she had never been angry with him down there, and it was impossible to be angry with him here as well. She ended up ranting while wearing a sweet, frustrated smile. "I've been trying to tell you about all the places up here, and you keep spacing out, and besides, if we're going to be here forever, you could use my name." Naruto simply grinned and gave a small laugh. "Sure thing, blonde-san." She threw him to the floor. An elderly man with wrinkles smiled across the field, and the white-haired man next to him returned the smile. The white-haired person standing next to him caught the wrinkled one's attention. "I told you he would come around." "I'm glad you were right, Sarutobi. Sensei. I guess we just never gave him a chance. What do you think, kid?" He peered down at the blonde man sitting in the grass, looking regal. With a simple smile, the Yondaime wiped a tear from his eye.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.